Hi everyone, welcome to Type Talks. Today we have ENTPs live. And so Amanda, would you like to tell us a bit about you?
My name is Amanda. I live in Texas and I'm in...
Oh no, she's frozen. Legit unicorn, yeah. And Prem?
Yo, what's up guys? My name is Prem. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel called ENTP Nurture where I explore, basically I'm documenting my journey of self-improvement, and the insights I have, you don't have to go through the hardship I went through. So I document my insights and share it in this channel. And that's about it.
Excellent. And Sebastian?
Hi everybody, I'm Sebastian. I'm an ENTP as well. I am from Southern California. And, something interesting about me, I just recently bought a house, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Yeah.
Actually, I live close to Sebastian. I live in Pasadena, California. And what else?
Yeah, and you have a Twitter account called
Twitter account that spreads misinformation. It's called Kaifan. And if you read through it, you will see that my thoughts has changed throughout the years on theories of personality types. There I just think out loud and share my thoughts. Some people like it, some don't. Yeah, that's not my job. My career is totally different. But yeah.
Yeah, you're a university professor, right?
Yeah, in engineering, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And so he has a Twitter account where he brain dumps his extroverted intuition. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And my name is Joyce, and I'm a certified MBTI practitioner, and I facilitate the instrument in organizations. All right. So the first question is, what is everyone's Enneagram type?
I'm a 7. So yeah.
Maybe share our wings too.
Sure.
I'm also a 7, and I think my wing is 8, but I'm still doing research on it. But I think it's 8 because of the official tests and yeah, a lot of things.
Cool. Anyone else want to share?
I've not taken an Enneagram test, but from videos I've seen where people are discussing their Enneagram types, I would probably say I'm close to it.
Interesting. Yeah. And so what do you feel more frequent? Oh, Prem, yeah, your Enneagram type? Oh, you're muted.
I was just saying hi to my friend Emily. Yeah. You can read the question, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know there is a photo for the person.
Hi.
She's ENTP as well.
Awesome. Emily, you can join us if you want. Just ask Prem for the StreamYard link. And so what do you feel more frequently frustrated by, FE or SI?
Probably SI, paperwork, and routine really frustrates me. Repetitive tasks in general. FE is actually fun. I like to hang out with people. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's similar to what Jay just commented. It's definitely SI for me, where it's. I feel like once I get into a routine, it's good. I'm like, oh, okay, I can kind of enjoy the routine because then you can kind of mix it up a little bit, right? And then you can get some sort of variety there in your routine.
Actually, let's say something. Is SI routine? We usually say SI is routine, but probably SI is not routine because just routine. I think SI is being involved in whatever task you're doing at the moment, being deeply involved with it and not get distracted with what else you could be doing instead. And I think because our engine feels suffocated if we do that, so we keep getting out of whatever the task that wants to get all of our attention. That's why So people who do routine, I don't think it's because they just enjoy simple things and they keep repeating those things. It doesn't mean that they cannot enjoy other things. They're just happy with whatever you're involved in. Anyways.
Really interesting. And so, Amanda, you had something you wanted to say?
Oh, no, I just said, oh gosh, sorry. That I thought being in the moment was more SE than SI. But also I struggle with that too. So the routines, the established structure, not structure I established, I'm fine with that. But like outside structure, like this is what you have to do because this is what we always do. I'm like, that's dumb. Yeah, so that would be frustrating. Fe, when it like sneaks up on me and like you know, like, oh, you're doing it wrong. That's annoying, but most of the time I think Fe is fun.
Yeah, FE is fun, but I do not like doing someone else's routine. You know, if someone says, "Yo, do this way," and I'm like, nah, just because you said that, I'm gonna do the other way. You know what I mean? Yeah, I have that.
No, yeah, I understand because it's like I'm gonna prove to you that I can do it not your way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
more efficiently as well.
Yes.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, and so I'm wondering about all of yours relationship to commitment. How do you experience commitment? And if that's vague, let me know.
I don't experience it. Yeah. I move way life. Yeah.
I've had to warm up to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about it is unnatural?
It feels limiting. It feels like you're like shutting off other options if you commit to this one thing. You're like, well, I don't know. What if I don't want that later? What if there's a better one? What if like something happens? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think, you know, to what Amanda's saying, like the what ifs, like there are so many what ifs that just come through like my mind anytime like I have to make a decision about anything. So, you know, kind of like what we were talking about before we started going live, you know, it sometimes we like doing like it's like let's research like you mentioned, Joyce, that NEs really like research before we make a decision, before we take an action. It's like let me try to know as much as I can. So I feel like that's part of the issues with a commitment, right? It's that once you commit, you do feel limited because it's like, oh man, what if like this isn't in the long run, this isn't the best. Like I got to keep my options. Like I got to keep, you know, as many options open. And I think that's good, but you know, could also be bad.
Yeah, you're going to see the EPs saying that they like to keep their options open and they don't want to be limited. They want to have that freedom. Yeah. And
I'm still not good at commitments, but at least I know why, which helps a lot. I think we're not good at commitment. Like when the other person wants us to be really committed, and we realize that it's something serious, then we feel the stress to just run away. And I think it's because, first of all, we are already stressed out by a lot of things in our lives, a lot of things that need our attention. We haven't resolved those, so there is a lot of anxiety already down there. And then we also haven't really thought about what we want, so we just went by the first option that came across. And so when we face the commitment, we know that we haven't thought through it, and there are other things that we're not sure if we will be able to address if we're in this relationship. So all of these thoughts come, and then we feel like we need to run away. But if the other person doesn't force us to say what we want, if they give us a space, I think we enjoy the relationship and we are committed naturally, I think. We don't like to. I think, yeah, you know what I mean.
So here's the thing about commitment for me. The thing is, I have the shiny object syndrome. I want to do so many things, and it's for me. I do not feel like, oh, there's something I can't do. I know for a fact if I did something for long enough, I'll be good at it. But the question is, what do I want to be good at? You know, do I want to do music? Do I want to do ENTP stuff? Do I want to do my masters? Do I want to do this? Anything I choose, I could be good at it. But which one? So I end up doing little bit of anything that catches my attention in that moment. But in that process, I lose the mastery component of the skill.
Yeah, that's why extroverted intuition users have the reputation of being dabblers, like dabbling a bit in here and dabbling a bit in there. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so how is your relationship with ENFPs, and what's the top positive and negative aspects about it?
I personally, sorry, go on, Sebastian.
So I was going to say that, well, my twin sister's an ENFP.
Wow.
So that's the longest relationship I've had in my life. So I would say that personally for me, it's a good relationship. I love being a twin, having a twin sister. We get along really well, especially because we both have similar interests, but I mean, that's probably expected if you, I would say the top positive aspect as an ENTP, right, to have a relationship with an ENFP is you kind of you learn to sort of like silence the TI, the inner, like, like that TI, like just the no, wrong, like doesn't make sense, not like, you kind of learn to ignore it a lot of the times, which can be helpful in like social situations, or if you're talking to new people, or like in a public setting or something like that. So I feel that's where I've benefited the most. My sister clearly is not a TI user. So sometimes she'll like say something, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But then, that's, I've kind of learned to say like, all right, let me hear what you're thinking. Like, give me your thought process, and then I can see if it's actually like a good idea or not. But it's definitely, helped me kind of express my TI in a more friendly way, per se, if you were to say. And then a negative aspect is one of the things that causes the most friction is kind of a TEFE conflict between my sister and I, where sometimes if she's looking at, or let's say criticizing something or anything, right? And if it's like something I did, right, and she's like, oh, well, she might say that she might take an issue with how I did it, right? But the way that she will say it is kind of, very blunt, kind of direct, is like, oh, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. So then to me, it's like, well, could you have put it in a nicer way, maybe? Whereas, that's kind of like one point where there's a little bit of friction. But overall, I think it's a great relationship. I can only speak for my personal experience, but I'd say if you're an ENTP, find yourself an ENFP. That's for sure.
Yeah.
For me, ENFP, at first I thought I hated ENFPs, I never met one. I thought I hate ENFPs because I thought, oh yeah, I have FI, they have TI, doesn't mix well together, you know what I mean? But then I spoke to one and I really liked them. Yeah. And I spoke to several ENFPs after that and I loved the conversation. Until I met one ENFP where I'm like, oh my God, this guy is like, right? I have nothing to do with him anymore. So for me, I really like talking to ENFPs because their top quality for me, the top positive quality, because they're so aware of their emotion, it helps me a lot. Yeah. So if I ask them, oh, do you like this? They'll be like, yeah, I like this. I'm like, okay, cool. it's a very smooth flowing conversation, you know. And if I'm emotionally lost, if I ask them, they can kind of like guide me towards the path of their FI. Yeah, so that helps a lot. I think negative is I feel like when I share my TI, okay, this is how it's done, and here's the reason why this is the right way to do. Okay, thanks, and they'll ask someone else the same question. Yeah, but and for me, it's like, yo, I just gave you the answer. You know, your church should end right now. Why are you asking someone else? But they want to collect everyone's input. You know what I mean? Because for them, it's like a non-personal thing. So that is like for me, it's like, but I gave you the answer. You know? Yeah. Are you saying my answer is not valid? Yeah, doesn't hold value. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's it for me.
That's amazing. Anyone else want to answer?
I love ENFPs. They are very childlike and very innocent and very. I like their energies, and around them, I feel like it's okay to just go NE and just be crazy. You know, it's like they are doing it. I can do it. So I don't worry about FEPI like Sebastian said. And I have many good ENFP friends. My best friend right now in LA, he's also ENFP. Um, friends, two of them. And what else? Something about them that irritates me is when they have. So we are all very business oriented. Uh, when they have like business ideas or when they want to do something, they think they can do something with you. They want to push their idea without knowing the steps to do that. It's like they don't understand the complexity of executing or implementing that idea. And when they push it, and then you want to be kind to them, and they're also sensitive, it creates an uncomfortable situation. So I can't tell them directly that, hey, it's not that easy. I tell them, I mean, eventually, or right in the beginning. But I learn if he learns that, okay, if you do this again, they'll be upset. Uh, so so I think that's the only thing that they want things to be done without knowing the little things that the complexity of the ideas.
I've had like I totally resonate with Jay with what you're saying. Like I've had interactions where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun, and like we can just like ping 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 ping, and then other times like their energy is just a lot. It's just a lot, and then I've been accused by an ENT or ENFP of like being cold, but it's because of that piece of that, like they've got all these, and I'm like, well, that's not going to work, and like this, and like, well, I mean, you've got to like bring it down here, and they're like, why are you just don't understand like what I feel about this or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know.
Sebastian's like hard relate.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I've had to bring my sister down from a couple like really big tangents.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so, question for Amanda. Been conceptualizing the female ENTP archetype in culture. Do you have any fictional characters you feel depict us?
Oh gosh. Okay, so this is silly, but there is a Netflix show called Enola Holmes, and she is the ENTP off the top of my head. Like, she could be. I mean, I don't know. They're all fictional characters, right? But now,
oh no!
did I freeze?
It's okay. You're back now.
Not yet.
I'm back. But yeah, so that's the only one I can think of. Sometimes I wonder if Elizabeth from Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice might have been an ENTP, a very watered down ENTP, but I don't know. Not any great ones other than that.
Fascinating.
I mean, kind of speaking to the question, I can't really think off the top of my head of like more than
Couple.
Yeah, I don't know if there's too many, female ENTPs portrayed in culture, and like, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't. I mean, I really can't think of any. And the two I said were kind of stretching, but.
Yeah, it seems like the ENTP is the true unicorn. The females, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what's your comfort level with chaos and
100% comfort.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Bring it up.
I moved countries during pandemic and it didn't faze me one bit. Yeah.
I did an interview and ended up in Hawaii 5 weeks later with a family and no home, no car, okay, we've got 3 days to make it work.
Nice.
Wow. ENTPs are quite the adaptable bunch.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the thing. I would consider myself pretty adaptive. So I'm like 100% comfortable with no planning. Like as long as I have a date that or a time that I know to show up at an airport for a trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, when I want to rest, so my rest days are the days that I don't have any plans. I just wake up and I don't have any plans. Like no one to meet, no meetings, no tasks, nothing. I just wake up, make a coffee, go outside to take a walk, just think, have a conversation, talk to random people, and come back, work on something. Something that you know what's important at that time when you have so much space.
Yeah. So it seems like ENTPs can adapt on the fly and just on a whim do things. That's amazing.
But I do need a destination though. So I can't just, so let's say I'm traveling, yeah? So it's very hard for me to travel without a destination, let's just go. But if I know I'm going to LA, I don't care about the plan. Somehow, catch a bus, catch a truck, whatever. Just get to LA. But I personally don't just like walking or roaming or traveling without any plans.
Yeah. The NE or SE will be fine with kind of just adapting on the spot as it needs to. Yeah. And so another question, do you identify as a social energy extrovert? How have you fared during quarantine as an extrovert?
So I can go for this. So even though we are socially extroverts, we spend most of our time just sitting, watching YouTube, watching TV shows, doing you know what I mean? So I never thought, this is not going to faze me one bit. After like 8 months of no contact, of not having real human connection, it did affect me. I have problems in my life that I wouldn't have if I didn't have like multiple friend groups. You know what I mean? Just being too needy, being more emotionally like volatile, online relation or online stuff, online relationships like friends and stuff. This kind of stuff affects my mood. You know what I mean? Usually I just hang out with different group of people and get it settled. But right now there is no group, and that kind of affects me after like a year or something. Definitely takes a toll. Yeah.
I wouldn't normally. I wouldn't really identify as a social energy extrovert. I like doing things with people, but sometimes I want to not do things with people, and I just want to do things by myself. But I do crave community, and that's been hard. And then there's so many options. Once again, going back to the options, there's so many options that are off the table because of quarantine, which I feel like I've feel that more than I'm like, oh, can't hang out with large groups of people. It's more like I feel like there's limitations options of things to do. Which, yeah, that's been a bummer.
I've heard the word like limited options at least 15 times so far since the videos started. So it seems to be a really big theme.
It's actually 16 limited options that bothers me as well. It's not, see, look, here's the thing, right? I want to stay in my room. I want to just do my thing. But if someone says you should stay in your room, now I'm like, yo, no.
Now I don't want to. Yeah.
Now I don't want to stay in the room. You know what I mean? I want my freedom. It's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like spending all day, you know, inside was definitely different when it was a choice than, you know, when it's mandated.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I definitely feel very depressed if I stay home for the entire day. I have to at least go outside and walk. So I think our extroversion is more like exploration. I need to go outside and see what's going on. That's enough for me. It doesn't have to be interacting with people and talking to them. But depending on the level of anxiety or stress, I think FE or socializing with other people is a good de-stressor for us. So if you're really stressed out, being by ourselves makes it worse. Talking to other people makes it much easier. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That makes a whole lot of sense. And so which type do you guys feel the most compatible with?
I feel like if I like a person, I'm pretty compatible with most types. Like, I don't really, I think I like different things about all
We need all the options.
Right. Actually, yeah, like I totally like, I mean, yeah, I love
One
like
of each, two of each.
yeah, the ISFJ who can like provide that like steady, like home, like kind of vibe. The ENTJ who's like, well, you get so much crap done. Like, just like the different things.
I think for me, compatibility is more so of values that the person holds than the type,
Yeah,
I 100% disagree with. I like hanging out with those because it's like they challenge my thoughts, I challenge theirs. There is, honestly, if I'm not stressed out by anything myself, I don't care at all. Like I can get along with anyone, literally anyone, and it's like a challenge that I want to do, and it's fun. It's like the interaction. It's really fun, and what most compatible with you should think about when you're the most stressed out, when you're like really stressed and anxious. Which types do you want to have around? Probably SI users, maybe ISFJ or INFJ. I don't know. INFJ probably because they understand you, but then they have their own needs. Okay, anyways. Just sharing how I think because
for me, whenever I'm stressed out, for me the most important thing is the other person is willing to listen and understand your situation, because I feel I can effectively communicate, but if the other person doesn't listen, it's a problem. You know what I mean?
The only thing that I don't get along with, I'm sorry for interrupting you, because I think this is important. The only thing is when the other person doesn't have good intentions, like they're intentionally trying to get on my nerve, or they're abusing the what is it? The healthy conversation that we have. Like I'm discussing something, I'm really curious. It's totally an intellectual conversation, and they try to like say something that upsets me. When they do that, what they say doesn't upset me. The fact that they're trying to upset me upsets me, and that's when I don't like to continue that conversation.
Sometimes that's even unconsciously done. That's the worst part. It's not like the person is thinking, you know what, I'm gonna be a bad guy today. I'm gonna like mess with Shay. You know what I mean? But just unconsciously, you might have done something. It might have like they might have a bad experience with your interaction, and subconsciously they're like, I have to get back at them. You know what I mean? That sort of stuff happens.
I agree.
Yeah, so there's a lot of passive aggressiveness that can build with people in general.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So hearing a person's mean tone or delivery, it kind of hits the FE, or just you as a person, as a human being, because it's like, why did you have to say it like that when you could say it like this? Exactly, totally. And so what do you think of INFPs in contrast to ENFPs?
Well, so I don't 100% no, I don't know somebody that I know is 100% INFP, but I have a pretty good idea that they are. So, you know, in contrast, if I were comparing them to the ENFP I know the most, which is my sister, I would kind of say, you know, I definitely see similarities in kind of like not necessarily like the ideas they come up with, but how they go about the idea, if that makes sense. And one of the I don't know. It's gonna sound like I don't want to. I'm not. So it's kind of like I would kind of say it's like ENFPs are like at this level, and then like INFPs are, you know, can have a fluctuating range, if that makes sense, because it's I feel like for the most part, unless like my sister is like sick or like really ill, like she's going at all times, where I feel like, you know, the I think INFP, I know it's similar energy I'm picking up, like when I compare it to my sister, but it's just not in it's inconsistent. It's like in waves. It comes and goes. It's never like, you know, boom, 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 boom. Like my sister is just like hitting you in the face with just like 100 miles an hour. Boom. Idea. Let's just let's go here. Okay, let's go here. All right, let's go. Let's do this. And I feel there is some there is that for sure in INF in at least the one I know, but it's just not as consistent as my sister's.
Yeah.
I have a special place in my heart for FI users, and they're just so like, to me they're weird and wonderful creatures. I'm just like, oh, you think so interestingly. Like, I don't like, it's just, I just kind of want to stare at their brain for a while. And then they've got that NEPs. I feel like some of the INFPs that I know, I'm like, come on, just do something. Like, I get the feel and like, just do something. Come on. But like that FIPs paired with the NE, I think it's really like interesting. But sometimes I get a little impatient. Like,
I also think they have a special place in my heart next to the other 15 types. So everyone has a special place there. It's so large.
Your heart is a special place, yeah.
Infinite capacity. No, but seriously, I think they're very understanding, very good listeners. Again, very innocent. They let you. I think when you're around them, you naturally start expressing your deepest feelings, because you do a little bit of it with everyone, but then when you see the reactions, you stop. Right? You're like, oh, I can't share. Like they're gonna judge me or something, and we really hate being judged for our FI. That's why we're so scared of it. And then you see that no, it seems like they're okay. You start sharing more and more and more. So it's like they let you use your repressed FI a lot, and I love that. But something that irritates me is that sometimes they're very stubborn. For example, my aunt, an INFP, she was writing an email, and she wanted me to take a quick look at it, and I did. And I said, okay, fix this, fix that, this and that. And she said, no, I like it that way. And I was like, okay, why do I like it? That's not how. If you want it to work, you need to change this. And she was like, no, I like it that way. I think it's true. It should be that way. Very stubborn in some sense. And that irritates me a little bit, but then it's okay.
I have a question. Have you ever offended one of your FI friends by saying something? And if
Yeah.
so, would you like to share an
They
example?
don't complain, but we do that a lot.
Yeah.
So okay, so I can share one incident that happened to me. So I'm kind of into color theory. You ladies must know this, but I was trying to figure it out, and I have FE. So what I do, I basically just ping. So my very good friend Dallas, yeah, he made this Photoshop like a shirt on top of me, and there are like color palettes, right? The summer, autumn, winter, and spring. So he took colors from that and he photoshopped on my skin so that you can like see whether I pop or like whatever. You know how that stuff goes, right? Yeah, he did all this work. He put all this effort, and he came to this conclusion. You know what? Yeah, winter looks good, and then autumn. You know, and then I was like, okay, dude, thanks. I took that. Someone joined in, and I asked, okay, what do you think? How do you feel about this? Which one goes better? And at that moment, it was like, yo, I just did all this work. Yeah, I concluded this colors course. Why are you asking someone else? It's like it's not a serious thing. Yeah, it's not like you were offended or anything. But it was definitely like, what? It's like how my TI gets disrespected. Like what? Why are you asking? I just did all this work. Yeah, that happened to me.
Interesting. Yeah. How about you, Amanda? Do you have an example?
Well, I'm married to an FI user, so I offend him like quite a bit. Usually, like if I do something real impulsive, which it's quite a few things that I do just impulsive, and he's like, "Why'd you do that?" I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "Of course you know." I'm like, "I really don't." Like, no, you have to know. I'm like, nope, still don't know.
That's
Nice.
hilarious.
Just thought it would be fun. Just why not? Sometimes the best answer is why not? Why'd you do that? Why not?
Why not?
I
Yeah.
could. Yeah, I could.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
I
It's an
could.
option.
very accepting of everyone, and also they have like a pure love for the people that they love. It's like when you have like a good news for them, like, hey, I got this job, for example, or this good thing happened to me. You see like they're really happy, like you see happiness in their face, in their expressions, in what they say, and you can really share your feelings of sadness or happiness with them. And yeah, I love that in general.
Yeah, they get you tapped into your humanity. And the audience members have been really into relationship questions tonight. I don't know why, but they want to know
Wow.
what are your thoughts about being in a relationship with an INTJ or
Just one
INFJ?
question: who are these people who are asking questions? How do they know they should ask questions, or
Oh,
Yeah, Joyce's dear
have
subscribe.
they sent the questions before, or are they asking?
these are in the live chat. So this video is live and they're just sending in
Oh.
like questions as they're watching. Yeah.
Hey guys, everyone. Okay, all right. I'm gonna mute myself.
One of my best friends is an INTJ. So we've always, yeah, I feel very compatible with INTJs. I have deep chemistry with INTJs. One point I dated, I'm pretty sure looking back, he was an INFJ. He was so interesting. And I loved it. Like I loved it when he was interesting, but then he like was when we started kind of dating and I was talking to him and I was like, oh wow, you're so interesting. Then he kind of like freaked out that like I was talking to him and he just wanted to like meet my needs and talk to me and like, compliment me and like, and it was, a girl likes to be complimented, but then it got to be like, you're not interesting anymore. You're kind of intimidating, because it's like, it was just it was all about me. And then that freaked me out then. And like Moon walked away. But otherwise, INFJs, sometimes I'm like, if I realized what type he was and like what he might have been doing, I feel like I could have navigated that better. I didn't, and I did navigate it very well. But normally, like, I also have one of my good friends is an INFJ, and I like love talking to her. And she's one of the few people that I will engage in feeling conversations with. Normally I'm like, nope. Not that intuitive piece, but she can navigate that feelings, and we can talk about just what each other are feeling. But yeah, I mean, I love both of those, but
yeah, it seems like if the other party's committing too fast, it kind of scares you a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I see like someone's trying to get close to me, like they're complimenting me or saying things to get close to me, to ask for something, I don't like that at all.
Mhm.
But if someone genuinely says, "Hey, I want this from you, will you be able to say that to me?" And I don't give a damn about you, will you give that to me? And I'll be like, "Yeah, come." Don't lie. If I see someone's like not, is like manipulating me, if I sense that, it really gets on my nerve, and I just stop interacting without telling them. Unfortunately, sometimes I do.
It's hiding the
Yeah.
information. Yeah.
And
Oh.
INTJs are actually much kinder than us. I've realized they're very much caring. I mean, we do a lot of things for other people, um, spontaneously, but we are not like committed to them. But they really care about you. Like if you're their friend, you see like they do a lot. They do like a lot of nice things to you. You have a special place in their heart. But because I don't know, they don't talk about their feelings, or I don't know what it is, that sometimes we don't get any feedback from them, and the interaction is kind of dry. Uh, but I think it's good. With guys, it's obviously lots of fun because we can joke about anything. We can insult each other and not get offended. That's really fun. And with girls, haven't had much interactions, but I think there is some like energy. And my ex, I think she was INFJ. I think. Yeah, we get along really well.
Yeah. Anyone else want to comment on the subject of INFJ, INTJ compatibility with ENTPs before we move on to this one?
Yeah, my last relationship was a long-term relationship with an INFJ, and definitely very compatible, because there's like a sort of like a, to me it's like a level of understanding where like I feel like it was easier for her to understand my thought process than say it was for other people. So we met in college, so other people in college, she seemed to be more, it could be that maybe her, her cognitive stacks, or cognitive functions played into that, but it certainly was easy for her to get how I think, and it was easy for me to kind of learn how she thinks too, which I think is definitely, I was able to like start picking up on stuff that she would do constantly, like certain quirks or idiosyncrasies that she does. And then so she found that amusing because I was able to pick up on that like very quickly. But it is one of the things that I would say is so that's one of the good things, right? It's easy to understand each other and easy to kind of learn who the other person is. one of the harder things is kind of Jay just mentioned is talking about feelings per se. Those are like not necessarily like the easiest conversations to have with her, especially when it's about like if it's about like trivial stuff, it doesn't matter. But if it's like core relationship stuff about like that needs to be talked about, it's it's not as easy as it would be, I think, with other people.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, I feel as an ENTP, I have a very bad emotional vocabulary, So let's say I'm having a sensation, a feeling, yeah. I just know it's bad. If something is good, it's just know it's good, But I never take the time to go, okay, am I frustrated? Am I angry? Am I depressed? Am I sad? Am I annoyed? I never took the time to label them or even have the vocabulary to know them, I only recently started labeling my emotions. But it's a very cognitively demanding process. It's a energy draining too.
One problem with INFJs, I think, is that when they get really emotional and they want answers from us, like, what do you think about this or that, or what are you after? When we are questioned, or in general feeling types, when they question us about our intentions and feelings, we freak out and we start explaining ourselves with words that are not just like he said, that are not good representative of what we actually feel, and then they start judging us based on those, and those are wrong, and you get mad. It's like a very bad loop, and you should avoid that. You should run away and then come back.
Run away.
Run away and text. So I don't see your emotions and try to and freak out. So I think it actually helps you if you distance yourself, and then start like writing to each other and then come back.
Yeah, what it seems like you're saying is that sometimes an ENTP will say something to try to explain themselves, and it can kind of sound a little cold to the other party, or the other party might misinterpret it in a way that you didn't mean for it to be misinterpreted as, and they'll get offended. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a pet peeve for me, just being misinterpreted in general is a big pet peeve for me. And I feel like in that situation that Jay was just talking about, where it's like when we're being questioned about like, okay, so like how do you, this is again in the context of a relationship, right? It's like, how do you feel? It's like, what do you want? It's like stuff that I haven't really thought through, so it's like it's uncomfortable for me to kind of just, well, I mean, I haven't thought it out yet, so I'm just gonna say something, but it's easily misinterpreted because it's not well thought out. Like if I were to give you advice on where to buy a house, I can give you, like, I'm not going to take anything back. What I say is what I think at that point that I said it, because I would have thought it out. And it's, very objective for me to say, I think this is the best place you can buy a house right now. Right. Whereas like stuff that's not as clear cut is like, what do you truly feel about this? Is this like kind of stuff that's, not something that's as, simple in a sense, because it is, when you're talking about feelings and emotions and everything, it's very complicated. So it's kind of like you're put on the spot, and you're in it's not an area where I'm used to improvising. I don't know if I speak for other people, but at least that's kind of how it is for me, and that lends me to saying stuff that I don't necessarily mean, or saying something that could easily be taken another way than I meant.
I have to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say it takes me. I've been working at it, but like it takes me a good couple of days to know like what I really, especially if I was offended or like my feelings got hurt. Like it might take me like 2 or 3 days to realize like, oh, my feelings were hurt. Like I don't like and I'll tell somebody and they're like, why didn't you tell me sooner? And I'm like, I told you as soon as I knew. Like,
yeah. Here's the thing, right? So here's the thing. And this is like, I'm speaking for all ENTPs. So if you use this information to like go after any ENTP, I'm coming after you, right? So the thing is this. I am unaware of my emotions. Yeah. But I am feeling something And here's how it gets justified. I tend to accept other person's emotional frame in that moment. So let's say I'm talking to you, Joyce, yeah, and we're having an argument, and suddenly go, you know what, Prem, you don't respect me, yeah. Now I go, wait, do I not respect her? I feel bad. I guess I don't respect her. I don't know. I don't respect. That might be true, Joyce. But here's the thing, though. Right now, wait, stop. I respect you, yeah. But at that moment, I accepted the emotional frame that I didn't respect you. What that then creates is this unconscious dissonance inside your body and your mind, and it just feels uneasy. Like, wait, what? It feels like you're not true to yourself, and that keeps bugging you. And my any just doesn't stop with the movies and different simulations of how I could have spoken. Oh, I would have said this, and she would have said that. You know what I mean? And that happens,
Yeah.
and that's why it takes so much time for me to like, understand. Okay, oh, I was angry. Oh, because they did this. Makes sense. Oh, I didn't. It's not like I didn't respect her. I was just angry. It takes me like days.
Or I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Couldn't accept it. Thanks for you worded very well. Very good explanation. Feeling the other person's emotions at the moment. I think that's true. So how should I say your name? Is it?
Prem.
Try to say Prime.
you
Try to say it
you can call me Vito. Yeah.
as he said.
Yeah.
Is it Prime?
No. It's Prem.
Prem. Okay.
Yep. Prem. Yep.
Another thing that we should avoid very quickly is using analogies. Sometimes those analogies hurt other people's feelings really bad. We use analogies to explain what we meant, and then they're, oh, so am I like a cat because you use the cat to yourself or not? No, that's an example.
Right, it's like no. The story I told you meant nothing. It's different. Look at the moral of the story.
Look at the moral of the story, Jay.
It's what the story's doing. Not.
When did he start getting sensory in here? No,
I
I'm
know.
just kidding. I understand you saying. Yeah.
I've switched to using human analogies where it's like, well, imagine a random person, right? Instead of like, imagine this inanimate object, and it's like, oh, an inanimate object to you now. Yeah.
That's really hilarious. So what I'm hearing from this chat is that you guys don't like it when your logic is misinterpreted. So, oh, that's not what I was thinking. I was actually thinking this. But when someone is trying to like tell you what you're feeling, you kind of accept it because you haven't really processed what you're feeling anyway. So you're like, huh, wait, you think that I'm angry? I might be angry because I haven't really thought of that, or am I not respecting you? I don't know my emotional stance on that. I'll just adopt yours because you're telling me it at the moment. Yeah, so it seems like you guys are open and receptive to seeing how other people are characterizing your emotions, and you kind of just take it on, which is different than FI users. FI users are like, I know what I feel, like, whereas the FE users are like,
later on we'll think about it. So we're like, tell us whatever you want, and later on I'll figure it out.
That's amazing. So Yellow Sentai asks, what's your opinion of INTPs and what's your similarities and differences based on your experience?
My uncle is an INTP, and I've had a few INTP friends. I think we live in the same country, but in different cities. So when we see each other, we don't know that we're similar. But if we look at ourselves with the things that we're interested in, and the overall theme of our lives, we are similar in that sense. But momentarily, we're very different. We're extroverted, we're very open, we want to explore everything. Say in music. My uncle spent all of his life in one genre of music. He knows everything about it. Has very good analysis in that. But if you give him a new type of music, he just rejects it. Unless he opens his NE, and then he starts exploring. But we started exploring, and then later on we form our judgments about different things. So yeah, we're like a forest of trees. They're like a giant tree with many branches. Their enemy is like branches. Our enemy is first. We are the forest, and then the TIs are those little trees in it. But we understand their logic very well. Like we are probably the best audience of a book written by an INTP. I love books written by INTPs. I usually know who they are. Like in my field, uh, I've kind of interacted with the authors of the subjects, and I kind of know their INTP, and I love their books because they're so accurate, so precise. They like to be precise in everything. Like even when they text, they don't use unnecessary words, or they're very careful with their selection of words, which I value so much. So as I get older, I become more similar to uh, my INTP uncle because of the development of my TI. He doesn't get similar to me though.
Yeah, I like the analogy that Jay just used about us being like the forest with many trees and then being a tree with many branches. I'll go into like my personal experience with the INTP that I know. So he's one of my coworkers, and before the COVID shutdown, that's the coworker I would spend the most time with in the office. Usually, because part of our job is to get really in detail and in the weeds with a lot of very granular data. So he's all over it. But also it's we shared a really cool common interest, which is soccer. So he's he's all about soccer. He's like, he knows exactly like who's playing, like doesn't really have like a team, but he just likes the sport in general, which is something that I've always liked, watching European competitions and the best teams play and everything. So it's really cool when you find an INTP that's got that same interest that you do, because it's almost as if your level of knowledge on that subject, or at least for me, it is what it seemed is I was an encyclopedia entry, whereas they're like a college textbook. Does that make sense? Where it's like they know so much, like they got so detailed about what they know about that topic, whereas like I was providing good information and probably know more. Like an encyclopedia might know more about stuff than the general audience does. That's why it's an encyclopedia. But it's not like a college textbook that was written by somebody that holds a doctorate in the subject.
Yeah, and their observation is really balanced with the sensory that they also gather. They gather both observation and the sensory, right? So I'm just gathering like patterns, but they have the nice balance of patterns and the observations. I have a friend. I think she also has a YouTube channel, the Daisy INTP. Yeah. So I speak to her. We definitely vibe a lot, but because there's a lot of similarities, but there's like a difference too. Where I'm like freaking out, she doesn't freak out that much. Where she's freaking out, I don't freak out that much, you know. So I definitely feel like it's a very good vibe. If you just want to like hang out, chill, you know, I feel it's a very good type to vibe with.
Yeah, it seems like the theme here is depth versus breadth. Yeah, so the INTPs.
Are you calling us shallow?
It seems like the INTP has more patience with fully understanding like subjects that they're interested in, whereas the ENTP will know like a little bit of everything. It seems like they're more spread out with their knowledge.
Our advantage is synthesizing different fields. We can so when we give ourselves enough time to understand something, although they initially they seem totally irrelevant, but then we find a connection between the two and we start merging them, and something new comes out. That's why, although INTPs are very inventive in their own field, we get the title of inventor because we are good at mixing so many things and bringing new things to the world that are very practical.
Makes sense. And Amanda, do you have any thoughts on the INTP subject?
One of my brothers is an INTP, and He's one of my favorite people to nerd out with. Like we talk about Star Wars, Marvel movies, like all the you know, there's other things, anything that he will be especially interested in, I'll talk about. So he kind of drives the interest, but he's super fun to nerd out with. He also hurts my feelings like a lot. Like out of all of them, like I have 3 brothers and they're all annoying in their own way and they're all precious in their own way. But like I'll be like really excited to see him. Like we'll have a big family gathering or something, and then he's in a corner like with his book or something, and he's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey, what do you mean, hey? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, what? Come on!" And he's like, "Hey." And then I'll get my feelings hurt because I'll all of a sudden forget that he's like a hardcore introvert. I don't know why I forgot that, but
yeah, and sometimes they tell them that truth hurts. Like what you said doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. And
that doesn't bother me because that doesn't bother me at all, actually. What bothers me is like I think that we're like super excited to see each other and like there's nothing. And I'm like, oh, maybe I was the only one excited. That's all I have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And so how not to confuse any with Enneagram type 7? Is it possible for an ENTP to be type 1?
no.
I would like to chime in a bit with that question. So with the Enneagram type 1, I know it's interesting to see like can an NP be a type 1, right? And I've met a lot of people in the type community, and I've had a lot of people tell me their Enneagram types. And so it is possible for NPs to associate themselves with type 1, but they all have one commonality in similarity. And it's that they're religious. Religious NPs are interesting NPs because they start to identify themselves more with type 1 because people who are followers of God or a higher power feel a sense of need to be virtuous and righteous. And so that's whenever an NP tells me that they're type 1, I also translate it in my mind as in, oh, there's like a one-to-one correlation so far with all the NPs who have told me that they're type 1 and them being heavily religious. And so I'm just gonna say that correlation there. Even I know it's a weird combo, but that's what I'm seeing in terms of correlation.
What do you mean religious? Like, what does that mean?
Religious as in they believe in God in some way.
Like,
Yeah.
what about spiritual? Even if you're spiritual, you believe in God, like Zen and stuff. It's the thing that's God, and you know what I mean.
There could be a correlation there. Yeah.
So I think there is a reason ENTPs or 7s can talk themselves as 1 because 7 obviously under stress goes to 1, and that is when we become very critical of other people. Other people annoy us a lot when we are anxious and nervous. Everything they do, we start criticizing others. We try to be we become very perfectionistic. But these are all signs of 7 under stress that goes to 1. And now, 7s who have been continuously.
Chronological.
No.
Chronologically.
Chronically. 7s that have been chronically anxious for a long time, they have had signs of type 1 for a long time, so they relate to type 1 a lot. But you should look at yourself when you're like happy and in a neutral form or emotional state. So I think it makes sense for us to see similarities with 1 or to relate to 1 descriptions, but we are not essentially 1s. Or 7.
Yeah, fascinating. And so how do you feel when someone rushes you?
Not good.
Yeah, I hate it.
There you go.
Depends again. If I'm free and I don't have anything to do for that day, I just joke about it and I calm them down even and try to like do it in my own way without um, anyone getting irritated. But again, if I'm myself under stress, I'll probably shut them down and run away.
Yeah. So to go into more detail, right? Then for the most part, like if I'm being rushed and there's like a good reason, like dude, there's a deadline and this needs to be out by 12. Like, well, clearly, that's probably what I'm doing right now, right? Trying to get it, trying to rush. But if I feel like the reason they're rushing is just like an arbitrary timeline that they've set up for no reason, like no good reason, it's like, well, why? It's like this timeline serves no sense. Like it has no, like it's a timeline that you've created for an arbitrary reason because it might make you feel better, but there's nothing that makes it significant. So when I feel like I'm being rushed for no reason, that's where I take like the most issue.
Yeah, controlling me, right?
Yeah, no. Don't limit my options. Like my time, let me have options to do what I want to do, and I will do the other thing, before it's actually due. Not to meet some arbitrary timeline.
Yeah, that was my main problem with my advisor during my PhD. So in the first 4 months of my PhD, I wrote a really good article, and he got excited and asked me to. He was like, "Okay, if we do this, we can publish 4 per year, and then in 4 years we can publish 16. So okay, when are you going to publish your next paper?" And I said, "I don't know." He said, "Okay, you did one in 4 months. Why not finishing the next one in 4 months?" And I said, "This is research. I have to work on it. I don't know when I will have the result, and I don't know when it's going to be perfect to be published." So I really fought with that idea of having a deadline. Yeah, I think we don't like it, and it's counterproductive for us.
Makes sense. And so, do you have experience or thoughts about other ENTPs in your life? Even about
Yeah.
people on this panel?
Oh, so even in OPS, where they're like where actually there are 1024 types, I have like 3 type twins who are exactly my same type. Yeah. I talk to them, very good friends, but it's not someone I would talk to them every day. I could talk to them like once a month or once in 2 months, or if I'm figuring out something logically and I need the other person's TI to like check my TI. You know what I mean? Oh, this is my logic. Is it having a discussion like that, a very serious discussion? I can do that. Catching up, I do catch up like once a month, but I cannot have just a casual, fun day every day with like an ENTP. That's my experience. Yeah.
You mean
Yeah, I
in
would say. I would say. Oh, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
no, go in real life or like online?
Online, yeah.
No, I mean the question is asking if about our experiences online or in real life.
You
Oh.
can answer however you'd like.
So in real life, I think the first ENTP I came across was a girl where I did my PhD. She was working in a cafeteria, and we became very, very good friends. She worked here. This is this mug is the photo of where I did my PhD.
Nice.
That's the cafeteria.
Congrats. Yeah.
Thanks. And we became very good friends, always talking, and it was really fun. And then Farah, who was in the other panel, ENTP panel, I talked to her a lot. She's very, very similar to me. I think she's the most similar person to me, that I've seen. And my uncle, one of them, is probably ENTP. And I think we usually, one of my close friends also, I think we are very similar and we get along really well. But initially, I think there is a resistance, or there is like a energy between us. Like, hey, because, hey, I know what you're doing. And he's like, hey, I know what you're doing. And, but once we get close to each other, it's like a really good relationship, really fun. We get each other, and it's really good.
Interesting. Sebastian, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah. So kind of like Prem mentioned, it's like so I knew an ENTP in high school, and I would say I was friends with him, but it wasn't like we were very close friends, because it kind of feels like, if I were to use an analogy, but if you're familiar with European history, like France and England have been going to war for like thousands of years, but they're also like both really good allies. Sort of like that. So my experience with my ENTP friend in high school was kind of like, we would see like the commonalities with each other all the time, of course, but there's also like clashes, if that makes sense. It's kind of like you're really good rival. It's like your friendly rival, if that's a thing. It's like a friendly rivalry is what it is.
Interesting, fascinating. And so Crave asks, are you good at reading people?
Very
I
good
guess
at
I'm
the scary level. It's so good that it's scary. Like when someone does something really bad, I can see it, or when someone has like a motivation, or it's like I can read them, and then it's weird to call them out. It's difficult because like you see what they're doing, and then you can't call them out. But yeah, I know how people take also, like what makes someone happy or what works for who. I can usually tell what someone needs. Like for my mom, I may do something for her, and that's exactly what she wanted or what she needed, and solutions that really work for people. I could put it that way.
How do you read people?
How do I read people? Like just observing them.
like a book.
Like a book. Easy peasy.
1, 2, 3. For me, reading people is like an acquired skill. It's definitely something I had to like research and read books on and stuff like that. There are like many levels, right? You read the body language. Oh, he's touching his neck. Oh, it's uncomfortable. The feet are pointing away. Oh, he wants to get out. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. But then it gets to another level where you kind of like start reading the energy of them, where you kind of like know where they're coming from, that feeling. And I feel most comfortable with. Where you kind of like get a vibe that, oh, they don't want to be here or they want to be here. You know what I mean? And I feel that naturally ENTPs can read better, but definitely for me it took some fine tuning because I was so caught up in my stuff. I never took the time to like hone that skill.
Yeah, I think definitely like, reading people or getting the vibe for them gets better with age. And I think it's because so what I've noticed is I'm not really good at like reading people. Like I can't just, like look at someone and say like, oh, they're going to do this. But I'm good at reading people in certain situations because I may have seen them before. Does that make sense? Like I know this situation, a logical person would do this, they're going to do that. And then boom, they might do it, So I feel like in that sense, it's kind of nothing that I necessarily pick up about a person is what helps me, predict what they might do. But more of like the situation that they're in, I would say, well, if I'm a normal or what would an average person do? Maybe, like the most logical thing. So if I think the most logical thing in this situation is to do this, I'm pretty sure that person might do that as well.
Yeah, because I feel with any you read the patterns as well, so you can kind of guess, okay, this is the pattern, this is what they're gonna do, and your any kind of like simulates, and it says, yeah.
Like I can easily tell if someone's angry, if someone's oh
Hey
hey.
there.
Yo, Boris, what's up?
Hey, Boris.
I was waiting for you. Yeah.
So, were you making small talk? Because I wanted to be there when the fun stuff happens.
Yeah, we are reading people.
Now that you're here, it's fun.
Many of you look familiar.
I've never seen you, Boris, before.
How did
I'm
you know
Boris
his
Boris.
name if you
Boris,
didn't
not
see him
Boris
before?
Caught.
Should we answer the next question? How do you experience SE?
Yes.
Why would I do SE if I can't do any? Actually, you know what? I think I'm sort of okay. Let's get right into it. I think by nature, SE was always something I struggled with. In sports, for example, or I played ping pong fairly competitively. I also am into salsa dancing. But for me, it is, I learn very slowly, but very rigorously. So a lot of people pick things up, but then they do it for 6 months and nothing changes. I need to go home, take it apart, put it back together. But when I know it, and I can teach it. But it's something that I need to work my way towards. It's not natural. Unless it's sort of like playing tennis after play table tennis, that's okay, but not natural, something new, I'll pick it up. It's like, no, I got to internalize it first. How do you guys feel about that?
So,
So for me in sports, always had problems. I didn't know that I was really good at sports, but I wasn't confident in it. So when I started like playing soccer, for example, I became really good and creative in soccer. Uh, uh, or FSE aesthetics, I also very appreciate them. I'm attracted to them, beauty, aesthetics. Or if it's SE is about force, I can be momentarily forceful, especially if someone tries to control me. I can like push them away. But it's not always that. It's not always present in me in terms of SE, but I can momentarily use that. So it comes and goes. Or in a sports, I'll exercise for a while, then let it go, then I'll exercise again. It's not something I constantly do, but I think when I have to do it, I'm good at it. And it tires me if I do too much SE or hang out with SE for too long. I think it tires me.
SE is quite draining for me, especially when I see like they like compare the sense and they know which is the best sense. You know what I mean? And I had a huge problem. I just moved to Canada, so the first day I went to buy this chicken and I paid like $10 for like one chicken piece, one frozen chicken. I paid $10. I thought, oh yeah, this is what you pay for. Like you get like I don't know 6, 7 chicken breast piece for like $10, you know. And I just paid $10, and I'm like, you know what? Next time I'm going to go for a better supermarket. But then I have to like go to different supermarkets and compare the prices. No. I go to this one supermarket which I think has the best deal. I still hopes they have the best deal, and I just get my stuff. Even though it's a bit pricey, and I know I'm getting ripped off a little bit. I still don't want to go through the effort of comparing the different sensory, going to this shop, okay, how much is chicken here, how much chicken. I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? I don't know why.
Yeah, it's because it's probably that effort to you isn't worth the difference
Yeah.
in price. It's that's what I would assume.
Yeah. But it definitely takes time though. After like 3 weeks going to this one supermarket, I might venture into this new one. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
And it's so mundane, right? Your head can be anywhere. No, now I have to spend 2 hours pinching some pennies. So
Yeah. My eyes literally, I do not see the products. I just go straight to what I want to buy. Everything, I just don't even look at it. Yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah. All my like very sensory focused relatives will talk about coupons and like where the best prices for certain things forever. Like that's the only topic that's like the sole topic of their conversations, and it's painful sometimes. And so, can ENTPs be naturally organized?
I think I'm very organized in important matters. For example, in my classes, I'm famous for being organized among professors in terms of course material. Like the students know where everything is. But if you're talking about my kitchen, probably not. If you're talking about my clothes, my drawers, probably not. But if I care about something, I can be actually very organized in it. If something matters to me, I know how to organize. I know how to create a system that keeps everything organized in the long term, not as opposed to like I don't like to keep organizing things. I create a system, a thought process that automates um, moving objects around in a way that they end up being organized. So, and I have like micro habits that keep me organized, but I can't be consciously organized and thinking about organization. That is frustrating a little bit.
I would agree with what Jay said, right? Where it's like if it's something, if it's my job, like yeah, of course, like I know where my files are, I know where I have to keep all the important documents and everything. But so like if I'm gonna interpret the question, right? If we can be naturally organized, and if I define naturally as in like there is a desire, an innate desire in ENTPs to just have everything tidy and neat. I haven't met one that's like that. I'm that's not me. So there's people that really enjoy, having, their surface, like, all the counter space, nice, neat and tidy, beds properly made, closets organized, everything like that. But I've never met an ENTP that is like that though. So I would say not that I've seen.
You don't enjoy like being in a space that is organized, like it bothers you?
No, it does. I do enjoy it.
If someone helps me with that, I like that. I like to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoy right.
Life and everything's organized and neat, like good bed, like good sheets, blankets, everything's cozy. I love that.
Yeah.
But I'm not good at doing it myself, but I welcome help in that regard.
If I enter into an organized room and someone else is organizing the exact same way, I'm very comfortable with that. But let's say I organize my stuff in a certain way and then someone else comes and rearranges everything, that's kind of hectic for me because I remember the exact location of where everything is. So my purse is in here, top left. Okay, that's where I usually keep it. So if they organize that particular way, I'm really happy. It's like bliss. But if they like shuffle stuff around, it's really stressful.
Yeah. How about you, Boris?
I would agree. I mean, you can appreciate organization, but I think it was Jay, right? Do I recall your name correctly, Jay? I agree with him. When something's important, I can be super organized, and it's probably sums up. A friend of mine called me a selectively anal slob at work. So and this was a long time ago, and I was a consultant. So I'm like, let's say fair, but if something matters, I'm like, no, I'm on their back. It's like, no, we got to do this, we got to do this. So I almost feel like ENTJ with a little bit of grace, of course. But really, it's the opportunity cost and the mental effort that is not worth to be spent on having everything neatly organized. As Jay, I appreciate neatness when I see it, but also from experience, it could be a liability. So with somebody that's super fastidious about things, you're bound to take them off because I cannot comply with all the rules that are. I'd rather spend my time thinking about something else. So appreciation at a low cost, yes. But otherwise, if you make the threshold, I can be super anal. But otherwise, a little bit of mess is not too bad.
Yeah, I like how Boris just phrased it. So I majored in economics, so that's a perfect. So the opportunity cost to be organized for us is really high. So like we value, like at least for me, I value so many more things than cleaning up a little bit on the counter, right?
Yeah.
It's like I can wait till the evening because in the day I would rather do something else.
For me, it is chaotically organized. Even though it looks chaotic, I know where everything is. And you might not believe this, all the things that's important to me is an arm's length away.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. I need a pen, it's there. I need a scale, it's there. I need a moisturizer, it's there. I need water, it's there. Almonds there. You know what I mean? Arm's length. You don't even have to.
Like nature. Nature is like an organized chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blob organization. You have a blob, and you know what's in that blob, but let's not organize the blob. That's a waste of time, right?
It's organized for me in a very subjective way. Yeah.
That was really hilarious, Boris, when you said you were characterized as a selectively anal slob. That's perfect. And hi, Emily.
Context, right? I mean, they meant it nicely, but
yeah. So you're E for egg rolls, right?
Yes. Yay, chaos.
Yay, welcome. And so people are asking, how well do you think your memory functions?
How do you define memory?
How do you define memory?
I don't know.
I think my memory is actually very good. I record everything that I pay attention to. But the problem is that I don't pay attention to many things. Like conversation. If someone said, "Hey, I just told you that," and I don't remember it because I was thinking of something else. But if I actually pay attention to something, I have a very good memory, and I can like the reason we can handle chaos is because we remember all those little things are because things that are important for us we remember them. So we are hard to gaslight in that sense. And if I focus on my memory, it's bad. Like if I try to remember something, it goes away. But if I'm not focusing on it, everything comes at the right time.
Yeah. Isn't that I'm doing my master's as well. So after I write thesis and I'm reading a book on how to write thesis, it's so bizarre because the way a person gets an idea, it's like ideas don't come in an organized fashion, They almost come very sporadically. So whenever it comes, you have to like really note it down and store it in a box or something. And all those ideas are usually you can organize them later, but they come in a way where it could be organized. You know what I mean? Like creative process is like chaotically organized, in my opinion. Yeah.
Ideas, I think about a lot of ideas, and they later on they connect to each other. If an idea is really worthy, I remember it, and then I can continue from there instead of writing it
Yeah.
down. I rarely write down my ideas because the important ones I already know about them. I keep thinking about them. I don't know.
How about you, Boris?
Yep, I would say it's very similar to the SE reference. It is selectively good, but really I remember patterns and details that I need to remember, but I'm really happy ditching little things and not remembering the specific details. So I try to walk away with, this is a pattern of what mattered. Here are a few very important things that sit on a pedestal that might be remembered down to how they actually are, but otherwise it's good to filter out all the details because they're a burden to me. I want to abstract as soon as I can. On the other hand, I remember when I was in high school, actually, it's a long story, ending up in some TV show, and I had to say, what's my hobby? I wanted to be in on math, but I picked a book on Vikings, and the guy said, we want you on Vikings. I'm like, shit, I didn't read the book. The book was that thick. I memorized the whole friggin' book. I took notes, dates, I knew it, but man, I hate it, and I lose it. You asked me a week later, I would have forgotten everything. But for that show, I knew it. So it's abstraction over detail, and ditch it as soon as you can.
Patterns are really...
Let me give you an example. I'm so sorry about memory. So in high school, I sold CDs that were illegal. Back in Iran, like music CDs, certain genres were illegal, and I was selling them at high school. I was very interested in those CDs, so I would buy those, read everything on the cover. I knew all the signs, who was the composer, who was arranged by whom, who were the musicians for that song. I knew everything, like I was a catalog for those. And I still, with my friends, when we listen to those, I can tell them this song is made by this singer, this composer, and this guitar is by that person, because I was so interested in that thing back then. But if you think about the classes that I took in high school, I remember absolutely nothing in history, geography, or any of those things because I never paid attention to them, and I was never interested in them.
To that point, because you mentioned geography, I'm in high school Germany. There was one year I had all A's except I had a D in geography. Was because I couldn't be bothered to remember these friggin' drawings, and I just Now later on in my grade 13, I did a geography major, and I got an A, but I just couldn't be bothered. And they looked at me, what the hell happened? I'm like, I can't be bothered.
I know it's a river. Why should I know its name? There is a river.
Yeah, I had the same thing when growing up too. I used to get good grades in every subject except Hindi, which is a language, history, civics, and geography. Because I'm like, because I was like, I'm not good. How am I supposed to remember this? And why? It's not how. It's like why. Why? Like, what's that? Oh, I know the coal mines in India now. What I'm gonna do with it? I'm not gonna mine.
Yeah, I started as a bio major, and I was like, there's no way I'm just gonna memorize all this crap. There's no point to it. Like, I enjoyed the lectures and understanding the concepts of biology, but I was like, I am not going to sit here and memorize all of these things. So I switched my major.
Nice.
What's your major now?
Oh, I got an English degree, of course.
Nice.
Yeah, relating to memory, I actually am the opposite of most of you here because I'm actually really good with geography. That was probably like one of the best subjects. I was kind of a walking atlas in college. I've forgotten like a lot of like capitals and currencies and whatever, but I'm probably still pretty good at, like, if you show me a country, I can tell you the name. Probably.
I think there may not be a contradiction. It really is, do you care about the subject?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. So my major, I probably should have let off with that, but my major is political science. And, like, I love international.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's all about the subject. At some point, I got really, really, really interested in math, and I started solving problems at the end of any book that I would find. I solved so many math problems when I took mock tests for the National University Entrance Examination. When I was taking this may even sound silly, but from the question, I knew who designed that test. There were a pattern in the type of questions that people design, because in the answers book, manual, they would say like this question was designed by this and that. So I naturally developed the pattern that, okay, this question is that guy. So again, just like Boris said, if you're interested in something, you memorize everything about it.
Yeah, the obsession is real. And so what's the most type that you relate to after ENTP?
What does that mean?
They probably mean what's the next closest type that you could relate to out of the 16.
Isn't it INTP? Oh, that's
no, it is your own experience. Okay, I'm interpreting this. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But if I read this, and being a non-native speaker, this person wonders, you're ENTP, but is there any other type out there that you can kind of more closely relate to, or might have been mistaken for? What do you think?
Oh, okay. Thanks, Boris. Yeah.
I think he's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know Boris for a while. Like, you make jokes about ENFP.
Yeah, I think I'm an ENFP. I think people who still see, oh, this guy's an ENFP, Yeah, I guess I would say that.
ENFP and also ENTJ, because at work we may sometimes, like Boris said, be very picky about a lot of things, organization, about certain things. So we may be mistaken for ENTJ at work.
There's a good example of that. So Boris, you really like this guy called Richard Feynman, right? If I got the name right. And people type him as an ENTJ in places.
The ignorant.
Yeah, so some ENTPs get mistaken for ENTJ, like Richard Feynman, for example.
I give it everything he says in teaching. Like, it's like I'm speaking. He's about everything he says. I'm not. Who am I to say he's wrong or right? But I really like and relate to everything that he says.
I really love the person as well. Richard Feynman as a person was like an amazing person. Had an amazing personality. Yeah, very unique.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this before. I don't know. Maybe you guys share the same experience. I was given this book many years ago by a then girlfriend of mine. It's called "Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman." And I find people normally have two reactions. They either love it or they say, oh my God, I can't stand that guy. But I read it and I'm like, oh my God, I can relate to that. I've done similar shit. Like, remember there's one episode where he talks about, you can relate probably, Jay, the sign notation is a little bit crazy. So he made up his own function for sine and cosine because you don't have the sign in front of something, sine inverse. I did the same thing and then realized as he did, but now I can't communicate with people in my class. That is like such a typical thing. You say, I want to do this, and I could really relate to those writing of his. Or the little, he's almost like a child in certain ways. I relate to that, but also little tricky things he does. And at that time, I knew nothing about MBTI. I said, I can relate to that guy. Obviously, he's a genius, and I'm not. But so, did you guys read the book? Are you familiar with it? If not, I would suggest and see.
I haven't, but I should, because he used to teach in Caltech, which is a few blocks down here. So I have to go visit that place and then take some pictures for Boris and everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fascinating.
I read a lot of these quotes and paragraphs or little things taken from his book, and I found them very fascinating and very relatable.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
have to think of the joy of finding things out, which really, you look at his face and you see it. He's playing, and he's trying to explore nature, knowing that he will never capture it. So he's a little bit sloppy here, a little bit of NE, but he gets something out of it without trying to say, I know what there is, because he's probably the one who knows quantum electrodynamics the best, but he said, I don't know it. So he was honest in both statements, right?
Yeah, it's something that has led to some success in my classes too, because right at the beginning, or when I teach a subject, I say, I may be wrong, or I encourage being wrong, and I encourage making mistakes a lot. And something that I say a lot recently is that let's get confused together. Let's just talk about it and get confused, and when we are confused, we find out new things about the subject.
Fascinating. And so, any other thoughts any ENTPs would like to add? If not, the next question is, how might the ENTP experience of the SE A slot compare to the INFJ experience of SE in the 4th slot?
I don't know how INFJ experiences SE at the 4th slot.
Yeah, so there are a couple things. So with INFJs, sometimes getting to the SE, like binging on experiences, pursuing something that is pleasurable, kind of takes them outside of their mind. So you always like feel like you're over in your head. I mean, maybe as an intuitive, and so INFJs kind of disconnect or like get out of their head. Like they feel the relief of finally getting out of their head when they get into the SE. Yeah, but INFJs can also resist the SE too. It's like, does this have a long-term type of thing that it plays into? And then it can be hard to kind of justify doing certain behaviors if it's not like long-term good. Yeah, so how does SE play out in ENTPs?
Well, I would say...
Yeah, Jessica, please, somebody else. I was about to say somebody else.
I was gonna say I enjoy gathering experiences too, and I've done a lot of that in my lifetime, but I don't know that I would say it succeeds in taking me out of my head, right? Like I have the experience and go do the sensory thing, but I'm still in NE the whole time, and then afterwards I'm like, was I really in that moment? I'm not so sure. So I mean, it's still gathering, right? And I'm still going and doing this physical thing, but it doesn't feel like it's pulling me out of intuition land.
That is so cool. So NE users never feel completely in the moment.
I would disagree with that, actually. It might be a learned experience, but for example, two things I really like is table tennis, and we're talking competitive, not just ping pong. My brother coached, so I played when I was a teenager, but also dancing. There's something extremely beautiful about salsa dance, whatever. You are in the moment, and it's an experience that makes you giddy, and it's like letting SE run you, but also have sort of an exchange with FE with the other person. It's a great experience to feel alive and take things in. It's almost like a switch. If you indulge in it, it's something I very much enjoy.
I was planning to learn salsa as well. You recommended Boris?
Absolutely. When things are better, I'll take you out to the right places. And it was, as I said earlier, it was tough to learn. At the beginning, dancing, when I took dancing in Germany, my nickname was Robot, because I was so stiff. I experimented with it, and then this is not I gotta watch the statement. When the gay guys hit on you, then you know you're dancing well. happening. And now it takes me a long time to learn something, but then I know it really well, and I can teach you how to do it, and I know every nuance. So it's slow, but in the end, once it's in your system and it's automatic, it's beautiful. It's one of the happiest moments when you dance. Let's say outside it's raining, they're playing a song you really like, and you have a moment with a stranger that may never come back. It's beautiful. It's worth the effort. But it's not at the beginning, because you feel like an idiot. There are all the ENTPs that know it, but then they plateau. If you go through it, you can tell them where they make the mistake. But it's a long time. Do it. I'll drag you out. When COVID's over, I'll drag you out.
Yeah.
Drag me out, Boris.
Yeah. We, me, Boris, and Prem, we all live in relatively the same area. So the next time we meet, maybe we should all go salsa dancing.
Second next time, but definitely. I mean,
I agree with Boris 100%. When I read about like living in the moment, experiencing, enjoying the moment, I think I relate to those things a lot, and I think I do enjoy the moment and my experiences a lot. And I'm like, when I'm watching a movie, I'm only watching the movie. When I'm having a conversation, I'm deeply involved in that conversation. When I'm talking to you guys, I'm all here. So it all depends in what states I am as an individual. Am I distracted and stressed and anxious, or am I calm and in balance? Balanced. If I'm in that state, I enjoy everything and I appreciate every single thing in life. I can enjoy many little things. So that's it was an answer to SE, right? I think the difference between us and ESXPs is that they try to have an impact on the physical environment to reform it or to change it or do something to it to impress it. But we just take in whatever that's present and we try to enjoy it. That's the SI difference, I guess.
Yeah,
I think Jay, I'm sorry, go on.
Oh no.
Jay just hit. You mentioned something pretty important, which is it's not impossible. Like, right, when we're in the moment, we're in the moment, and then to kind of talk or to expand on what Emily, right? So to then kind of expand on what Emily was saying about Annie, it's kind of like it's more like I relate to what you said, but to me it's kind of like how I feel when I'm reflecting on those experiences that I've gone out and lived. So in hindsight, I don't put necessarily more value on my experience than I would say if let's say you, Emily, told me about the experience you had. I might weight them equally because to me they're just two different data points. I just happen to live through one.
Yeah, right. You could re-experience it.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's in hindsight, it's kind of like it's very disconnected. So it feels, like from like what I've experienced in the past, right? Like, for example, I was parasailing, which was so much fun. While I was up there, oh my God, I got to see like the entire beach. Like you could see the city next to the city that we were parasailing, like, like the next city over. That's how it was so much fun. But in hindsight, I when I reflect on it, I can't necessarily get back in the moment that I was feeling, because I totally remember what it looked like, but I can't necessarily feel like I felt when I was up there. And that's because, it's something that is, it's hard to kind of do again unless you're doing it again, to feel again unless you're doing it again. I don't know. It's a little weird.
I understand what you're saying, and I would also add that I agree with what Boris was saying as far as if you're adding FE into the mix. A lot of the times my best experiences are the ones that I remember in connection with an FE that I had with someone else that was with me, and that makes it important and special. And so, yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, and that would actually get me in the moment, or I'm experiencing the sunset with this person, and I'm I'm in this moment, and everything, like you just are in that moment, and it's a beautiful thing, but it doesn't happen often, it's not like I'm roaming city and I'm like in the moment. Yeah.
Oh, Prem, you're a romantic.
Yeah,
Aren't we
just
all?
a little bit.
And you like Jay said
Wait till
before,
I
right?
learn salsa, then I'll be really romantic. Yeah.
Yeah, like Jay said, right? It also depends on like am I distracted? Am I stressed? Like how am I when I'm experiencing? That determines if whether or not I can really get him. Like, am I worried about something else that's happening in like, you know, like did I leave the stove on? Like something like that. Like that's clearly not gonna help me get into the moment.
Did I lock my door? That always happens to me.
And if I did I leave my key inside? Oh, no.
That's quite the rabbit hole.
Sorry, for future addressing, the names, I know Prem, J, Emily, and what was your name, bottom right, just so that I can address
Sebastian.
Sebastian, thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So what are your guys' thoughts on ISFJs?
Okay, so I personally love them. There's a person called Rose. She has an amazing YouTube channel, super underrated, yeah. But the thing is, I spoke to Rose so many times. It's like I really love having deep conversations with her. The depth is really, really interesting because the perspective that she brings is so different, but so valuable because it's a part of reality that I don't see, but it still is equal weight, you know, and it's really interesting talking to her. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I love ISFJs because, well, they're dealing with the exact opposite things that we're dealing with, and so when you can get on the same page enough with someone because they are using the same functions, but you're doing the opposite things, it's like, oh, now I see the whole picture for once in my life, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm friends with on Twitter community, MBTI Twitter. That one ISFJ Natalie.
I love Natalie.
Yeah, love her too. We have had many conversations, and we are very similar. It's like we are opposites, but at the same time, we're very similar in many things. And one of my cousins, he's an ISFJ. One of my students that works with me in research. I think I understand them completely, and I like to help them to accomplish something. And I also trust them a lot. They're one of the few people that I can totally trust, and that's enjoyable. And yeah, it's I think we have a very good natural good relationship with all of them. Yeah, they have a special place in my heart next to INFPs.
Next to all the 16 types.
Yeah.
So with Boris, you actually have a special place in your heart for INFPs too, and so does Prem. Prem has a thing for FI as well.
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship. No, even before knowing MBTI, I had a sequence of I was dating 3 INFPs in a row and had a very similar experience.
At the same time?
No. Those were 2 ESTPs. Just kidding. And there's a really nice one. I mean, they have NE in second. So you have these amazing NE blasts. I recall one person from work, which is not somebody I dated, but you can really, there's a connection. You connect on the NE portion, and they're genuine. They're very authentic, which I much appreciate. At the same time, though, what I find challenging is the TI-FI divide. I think out of all the juxtaposing function, it's the strongest one to bridge. Because to me, TI cares about consistency and consistency within a logic system, whereas FI is just, they know what's good, what's bad, what's right or wrong. They're very visceral about their judgments and can be very quick. And they're very, to me, personalized. So you might step into a minefield just because you said something that to you doesn't make sense, right? And in reverse, I find you to be cold and inconsiderate because your TI just drones along logical lines and saying, no, this is wrong. You should not eat meat. And so it's challenging. It didn't work out in all 3 cases. Mind you, I'm still close to some of them. But there was some allure to me because there's this connection, they're similar and they're different and they're authentic. And they appreciate some bubbliness. So I think it can work. But TI, FI, both of the parties have to be very mature and tolerant of the respective other for that to work long term.
Yeah, they get on well until the TI user offends the FI user.
Yeah, and I'm very, and in regards to ISFJs, just in along those lines, they're lovely people. They're genuine, authentic. Who cannot love them? What I find often though is sometimes I might be too dark for them, and I even stay away from them, saying, you know what, I'm going to go to places that you either might not want to or can't follow, just conceptually, and then I'm really going to upset you. As in, like, I'm willing to go to mental places they might not to, and it might be hard on them. So I seek out slightly more scarred souls that are similar to me, willing to walk in the darker places mentally. But they're lovely. They're lovely.
Yeah, that's a great point. I agree with that. We go to some very dark places.
And we have a problem too. Sometimes when we are discussing a topic, we're going like fast, super fast, and they are very slow. Not that they are slow. They are like
grounded, maybe in a sort of,
yeah, grounded, and we just
like methodical.
Yeah, it's like someone running who wants to have a conversation with someone who's watching. So you have to run around that.
Yeah. So there was a conversation around darkness. And so TI and FI, they have capacity for darkness in different ways. So with introverted thinking, it can deal with darkness in terms of thoughts. So it can deal with like very dark ways of thinking and kind of understand and analyze and break it down in it. Whereas with FI is good with dark emotions and holding space for dark emotions or understanding the intention and origin of dark emotions. And so that's just something I wanted to bring up too. And so do you do sport, and how much do you like it generally? People are really curious about like SC framed questions, I swear, today.
So go on.
Oh, I do like doing sports. I mean, my favorite sport is to play is baseball. I enjoy playing baseball. So, you know, I got pretty good at it, and I still like to play. I don't play it as regularly as I would like. I feel like that's kind of consistent amongst a lot of ENTPs. Is, you know, I'd like to be a little bit, you know, more active, like, you know, God said. But I would say I do generally like. I'm currently actually on a good streak where every other weekend, my sister and I get a group of friends to go play beach volleyball. So
Nice.
we're like, we've done 3, so we're hoping to keep it rolling. So far the group's getting bigger and bigger, so it's. But I usually like it. I usually always like it. To answer the question, I really like playing any sport.
Yeah, it's not. I don't feel like I'm incapable of playing sports. You know, it just some every time something else came up. But the one thing I did like is jujitsu. I loved getting thrown on the ground. You know, and I like the wrestling aspect. Yeah. Depends. You know. Yeah, I loved that. I did boxing. I liked punching just air, but till I got punched, you know, then my head started hurting. I'm like, okay, it's not my cup of tea. Yeah. Soccer I liked, but yeah, I do feel it's something I could be good at, but I just have to show up more often. You know, it's not something I would naturally think. Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna play beach volleyball or something. You know what I mean? Unless you have like a group accountability thing, and that makes it fun. The entire experience. Yeah.
I personally absolutely love playing outdoor soccer, and it's something I like living in the moment. That's outdoor soccer for me. And then I did kung fu. I did wrestling. I mean, I tried them. It doesn't mean that I actually did them. And I like physically engaging with people or punching them, but not
in that order or reverse.
Consensual punching, right? Consensual punching, not aggressive
I
punching.
have a friend,
Not hostile.
who is a wrestler, professional. Sometimes when I see him, I just spontaneously start like wrestling with him. Of course, he beats me, every time, but I enjoyed it, like experience. And I like to like walk. I don't enjoy running or being very active. I like to do it as something to just make sure that I'm healthy, and that's it. I wish I didn't have the need to eat and exercise and all of that, so I just could think and make things, create things, but I have to. But I enjoy playing soccer.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Emily?
I like physical activity. I don't like competitive sports because I am competitive and I suck so bad at them that then I just get mad because I lose all the time.
You get
Like,
even.
Yeah, I had to do PE obviously into college, so I took floorball, and it was like the most infuriating thing because I never made any useful actions in the entire semester, and I was like, why am I so bad at this?
Yeah, and Boris?
I mean, for me, I do enjoy certain physical activity, like dancing. I like martial arts. Table tennis, I was very competitive, and there's something about it's more stuff that's skill based, but also you enjoy the control of the movement. Like table tennis is competitive, but there's almost more joy in hitting the ball just right and feeling like there's a flow there. Whereas I'm not so much into brute force sports. The one exception is in physical education, and it's called track and field, whatever, I believe. Guess what my best discipline was? It wasn't running, it wasn't jumping, it was shot put. I have skinny wrists, but just the way my body moves, I was with the big dudes, but I was able to get that ball where it should go. But that was total fluke. It was, again, skill-based, even though it was like a strength thing. So football is, I know, I might not understand it, probably. It's very strategic, but anything where it's, I got to beat that guy, it's like, no. I like finesse, I like timing. Ninjutsu, I did for a while. I have a neck problem, I can't do it anymore. But it's the skill rather than brute force.
I like the skill aspect too. Yeah, what Boris said.
Do you guys think we have? I thought I don't have it, but I think I do now. When I observe myself. So, do you guys think we have good mind-body coordination? Like dancing, I can do a spontaneous dancing. I create my own dancing, and I love it. It's fun. I can pick up the rhythm and. But in general, do you guys think we're good at it, or what?
Here's what I think about that. I feel we have good mind. We have like a rhythmic mind body coordinate. Like if you make me do like action 1, action 2, action 3, action 4, I can do that in a sequence. I find joy in it, but I don't feel I have a spontaneous mind body connection. Just spontaneously like having my mind come up and my body like coordinate that and do. You know what I mean? I don't feel I have that.
You all need to dance with me one day so I can experience this for myself.
That's my dance.
Who's gonna lead, Emily? You or Joyce? You gotta figure that out.
Give me 1 year with Boris Sensei, and I'll get back to you.
Speaking to Prem's statement, though, I think I agree. I don't think we have the innate picking up movements across a generic realm of movements like an ESTP does. But if I like something like dancing, I used to suck at it. My nickname was Robot. But then you kind of build it, and all of a sudden you earned it, and then you really own it. But it's a really slow pace for me. In salsa, I was a very slow learner. I'm still not the best, but I know where I'm wrong. Whereas some other people, they jump way ahead of me, but then they may plateau because they then cannot break things down and go beyond the plateau. But I'm slow to learn anything new.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're slow at learning it. It takes longer than average people. But once we do, I think we get creative, and then we can do things that other people can't. We add things to it, like a chef.
Dancing.
Who learns the food and then makes something new out of it.
Yeah. I feel like ice skating or something, I feel we would like excel at, just like a very rhythmic,
There needs to be an ENTP in Olympics, and everyone needs to watch in the TEP community.
We'll
And
organize
I would
it one
agree,
day,
but
Joyce.
the one prerequisite is before they actually start the Olympics, no athlete can have experience doing whatever event they want to compete in.
There you go.
That'd be great.
That's the
That'd be
caveat.
hilarious.
Yep.
That'd be hilarious. And so
I mean, they can
do
be
you-
professional athletes. They just can't be doing the event that they are going to be doing.
Yeah.
So if like, and yeah, probably I'm going into the rabbit hole too much. I'll probably just stop. But like, if you're a sprinter, you can't, like, if you regularly do the 100, you can't just run the 200. No, you got to do like long jump or something.
Well, if you're in summer sports, you have to do the Winter Olympics, and if you're in winter, then you have to do summer.
Problem solved.
I dig that. Yep.
Is this what they call the TP trolling? Yeah. So do ENTPs struggle to figure out what they FI like, dislike? Like their favorite things, their least favorite things, how they feel about someone?
Okay, let me start, Prem. Prem, let me start. No, I'm just kidding. This question kind of irritates me because of the built-in assumption that people are socially obligated to have favorite things. Okay, so if I like something, I can like it, but why does it have to be my favorite? And why do people always have to go around asking me about what's your favorite? And when I say I don't have one, they're like, well, what's wrong with you? Why don't you have a favorite? And I'm like, why don't you just mind your own business?
And then you turn around and walk away, talk to the other.
Yeah. That is a really good point. Why do we have to have favorites? Where is that underlying assumption coming from?
That's so limiting.
Yeah, that's so it's like so true. It's like I never really thought about it, but it's just like boom, like some truth just dropped. I was like, oh, why do I have to have a favorite? Like I don't know everything. Like I could definitely say I have a favorite something if I knew every type of somethings of that thing. But I don't, so I don't.
And sometimes I'm in the mood for something that I wasn't in the mood for yesterday.
Our favorite thing is options.
There you go. Okay, yes. And I've said that before, but for some reason people are not satisfied with that. They're like, they get like weird and angry about it. So one of the things that made me realize this is because, you know, I was traveling a lot for my job at one point, and people would always ask me, like, what's your favorite country that you've ever been to? And I'm like, why is that a question? Every place is different and every place is interesting. And I know you're just trying to be like, you know, social small talk, but that's a stupid question. Don't ask me that question.
Yeah, my friend asked me, do you like Canada? I haven't responded to him yet. He's like, oh, right.
Still your friend though?
Yeah, because this is what I want to type, right? But I'm not emotionally ready for it. I'm like, it's a new place. I like it. The standard of living is better, but it doesn't emotionally move me or affect me in any way, you know? It doesn't feel that, like, what am I supposed to say? Yeah.
I think the problem is when people ask what is your favorite something, they want to see if you have had a good experience with something. But the theory and interpreted is objectively putting everything in front of us and picking the best one. And we don't have a criterion for picking the best one. We're like, this is different from that, and I don't know. Objectively, they are all different. I can't have a favorite. Favorite is not the is out of discussion now. But if we interpret the question as where did you have a good experience, we can say, yeah, in LA I had good experiences. But then again, all of these experiences objectively are also good. They're different. I can't compare these experiences. You know, so yeah, it's a tricky question for us, definitely. We can't.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like instead of like asking ENTPs, so for anybody that's watching, instead of asking an ENTP what their favorite whatever is or experience or maybe if you ask them, it's like, hey, given like, so let's say if you're a traveler, I'll go back to traveling like Emily mentioned. So it's like, instead of asking, what's your favorite country you've ever been to? You can ask, how was your or what did you like? Or you can just ask like, how was your experience in this country? And then, you know, I feel like if I was asked that question, I can say, well, I mean, this is what I did. And, you know, these were good things about my visit. These were bad things about, because I can, I have that, I know that. And you're not asking me, you know, to subjectively judge something that I objectively can't compare. If I can't compare it
I
objectively, I can't give you my opinion on it.
I can't even say if I had a bad experience because it was an experience.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I wasn't
It's very
present for
hard.
it anyway.
It's
Yeah.
very hard to compare my own subjective emotional experiences in a thing. Oh, this is better than that. That is better than this. You know what I mean? Just very like what?
I'll just add one last addendum here. If you keep asking me questions about what I like, I will eventually just make stuff up and just give you an answer that has nothing to do with anything.
That's funny. Yeah. And so communication tips for an FI user in a relationship with a TI user.
I will speak to it. Maybe not first, but I think I owe them some experience.
Go
there.
for it.
No, well, but I don't want to. I think that somebody else goes first.
No. You have the most experience here.
I
That's
think
quality.
a good
Sebastian,
advice-
Emily?
a good advice for TI users or TPs, ENTPs, is to, when someone tells you, for example, hey, I wish we had this today, or this happened, or this is my wish. We shouldn't necessarily solve that, see that as a problem and try to solve it, or give solutions to that person. It's just like hearing what they say sometimes is enough. As thinkers, we tend to sometimes give solutions that frustrates other people, and we're good listeners. Actually, we kind of are open to hear what the other person has to say. If we continue doing that, that's good. But from FI users, I think being fair, especially when working together on something, being fair in terms of responsibilities, and taking credit, and also not judging us. Like the previous question, we don't really know our feelings with respect to a lot of things. So just let us express ourselves freely, and let's just live in the moment instead of trying to know exactly how we feel about certain things, because we don't know that. And that then, if you keep asking that, it will frustrate us, and we will start explaining ourselves, and we will mistakenly say things that are not how we feel. That those are the things that we think intellectually, this is how it should be or how it is. That's not how I feel. So I think, yeah, don't ask a lot of feeding questions, or don't interrogate us basically about how we feel about certain things, or about a relationship.
The question sounds like it was posted by an FI user in a TI. So I agree with Jay.
Yeah.
And I think the first thing is to understand there's a difference between FI and TI, to acknowledge it. And one consequence of it is the TI user will not share your tendency to come to conclusions about something, to say this is good, this is bad. We lack that ability. And as Jay said, we cannot make those statements. In reverse, we also don't mean to offend. We don't have strong convictions, really. So if you feel offended, be mindful of, this guy is just different than me. He doesn't have those feelings, so he also probably doesn't intend to offend you. If you feel one of your values has been offended, you might want to step back and saying, I validly feel strongly about something, but he or she doesn't work that way. But just by acknowledging that, you might be able to step back and not go into a loop where, oh, he doesn't like me, he doesn't understand me, or she. Just acknowledge the difference. If you feel your values get violated, step back and get some distance, and let them be the robot that they are. But there's no malice, right?
Don't take things personally, and just know that as long as we are in a relationship, we are enjoying it. We feel good about it. If we don't, we will just leave the relationship, or we'll find an excuse. So just think more about what we do than what we say, or
Yeah, so that's exactly right. To highlight what Boris and Jay were saying, it's like it's not like we're particularly like very attached to like ideas or like what we say, or stuff like that. And you know, for I can't. Well, my sister, she has FI, but she's not an FI dom. And as an ENTP, I have TI, but I'm not a TI dom. So I guess in speaking from that experience, you know, the biggest thing that I think that my sister does or has learned to do is kind of acknowledge that, like Boris was saying, you kind of have to like step back from that initial like gut reaction that the FI might have, like, oh, this is wrong, this is bad, this is good, etc. Right? Because the TI user doesn't necessarily have that, hasn't arrived at that. It's more like exploratory. You know, it's like, well, this could be this, but it could also be this. It's not as like straightforward. Like, I know what this is. You know, when you're presented with any given situation.
Really well said.
There's something called Four Horsemen, which is really nice. But one of the horsemen was criticism versus complaint, where criticism is a character sweeping judgment. Oh, you always do this. Oh, you're always like this. You know, you never wash dishes.
These words I hate, actually. I have, without being specific, always, never, and it's like, you know, this is poison.
Yeah. So any character sweeping judgment that you're placing on a person, I feel that's bad. Rather, if you said, I feel bad when you don't do the dishes, I would prefer if you did something else. You know, I feel I would prefer. That would be such a, because now you're complaining, right? It's not personal, yeah, and it's more empathy. You give opportunity for more empathy. But when someone makes like a character sweeping judgment, now I become defensive. Now I start stonewalling you. Now I start building contempt, resentment. You know, it's just so much bad stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and obviously don't push us into relationships. Like let the closeness happen organically and naturally. Don't try to get too close too quickly. We just freak out if you do that.
Because options, you just want your options to be open for a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about you, Emily and Prem? Any?
Yeah, I would say, so I think my brother also is an ENFP, and I would say, like, know where you exhaust each other, right? Like, the extroverted energy exhausts introverted energy, so I get exhausted by having to TE for so long, and they get exhausted by having to FE for so long. So just, like, realizing where that exhaustion is and, like, backing away when you need to is really useful.
Prem?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah. I just wondered if you had anything else you wanted to add.
No.
Okay, cool.
I was just in my Annie, I was thinking, wow, that profile picture looks like Rick and Morty, but why does it give me? That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
I just.
Oh,
love
speaking of Rick and Morty.
Oh my! There you go, my brother, man.
Yep.
ENTP mind sync right there.
I know.
Yeah.
So I saw that Rick actually got his type as an ENTP while I read online. I'm sure probably somebody that knew more than I did, but from the show, it kind of looks like he might be, you know.
I think it's universally considered an ENTP, Rick.
Interesting.
But Morty doesn't have a type, though. That's funny.
No, I mean, nobody's a Morty. I've never met a Morty.
Yeah.
That's funny.
If there is a Morty watching that your name is actually Morty,
oh my God,
I've never met a literal like Morty person from the show.
Morty is like the Chad, but in an opposite spectrum, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. So Vazaras said, needing an emotional answer quickly is death to high TI, low FE, in my opinion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to find the next question. Oops. My sensory just lost track of the questions. Oh, yes. So if someone hurts you romantically, nothing horrible, just maybe they weren't into you at the time. Can you forgive and rekindle, or do you hold on to resentments?
Sure.
So, okay, so this, I just want to say, I don't feel this is like a type thing, you know? I feel choosing to forgive or holding resentment is really like a human thing. Everyone has that choice to make both. And I feel you should always choose to forgive, not the other person, but yourself, you know? And that's been my journey. Just learning to forgive. Because when someone rejects me, I take it oh, I'm not good enough. If only I was as charming as Boris. then I would have gotten.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
that
you're
was like
buttering me up
compliment.
now. That's going to be a hot take, my friend.
No, but my mind immediately projects that insecurity. Oh, now I have this. Oh, now I have to like somehow work on my insecurity, and then I resent them. Oh, and when I feel like I cannot work on myself, when I try to control things I cannot control. Yeah, when I try to like make, let's say, like a cat bark. You know what I mean? You try to like take control of things you can't control, and then you feel resentful. But you have to just accept what you can't control, and then just change what you can control, and you can forgive. And yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, letting go is the true form of wealth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, what is everyone's insecurities? When your mind goes into an insecure place, what does it normally say?
Damn, that's a challenge change.
Because
it's like
you were talking about it.
Should we answer the question or your question?
Both.
Yeah, you have the ultimate option, Jay.
I forgot your question. I was reading this question. Our insecurities, you asked?
Yeah.
What is insecurity, by the way? Like, I know what
It's our blind spot. We forget them. We keep them.
Honestly, if someone hurts me, I make sure that they know that they didn't hurt me, because I don't want them to feel guilty about it later on. Like, it's cool. If I ask you, hey, I'm interested in you, and you say I'm not, I'm like, okay, I'm not hurt. But if you manipulate me and you keep me manipulated and you guilt trip me, that actually hurts me. It doesn't mean that I hate you or anything. I'm feeling uncomfortable. So don't do that to me. All right. And that's it. I think if you don't care that much, honestly, you forgive it easy.
I would agree. I mean, Prem's statement was true for all types, but I think compared to others, we're probably more easygoing because I don't hold grudges very long. There's rare cases where somebody does something really horrible that I feel for, but then I'm not just going to ignore you. I'm going to go after you. I'm going to make you miserable, and hopefully in a way that you don't even know it was me. I could say, "Oh, that's horrible. What happened to you?" Anyways,
it's the ENTP evil master plot.
Oh man,
of course.
At that point, let me share something with you. I went to a writing class in Farsi. It was like about writing poetically, and the first session, the assignment was to describe yourself in a poetic way. And I wrote that my name is something, starts with J, and it means someone who forgives easily. I'm translating what I wrote in Farsi, but it translates to this. My name means someone who forgives easily, and I think it's true because I can forget 100 years of war with someone, but when I see the white flag of their teeth, which means when I see them smiling, when I see their teeth, I genuinely forget everything, and I'm like, you're just cool, forget about it. And I wish everyone follows that. I know it's not practical, but I don't really hold grudges or anything yet. As long as I'm in front of someone and they're smiling, I'll smile back and try to have a good time.
Oh, that's so amazing. So I asked a question about your insecurities, partially because I was also like testing how emotionally vulnerable you guys would get, and the question, and you all just dodged the question.
Wait, I'll answer it.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah. Go for it.
Go for it, Emily. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Mine usually comes from fearing that people will value me for my skills only, but not for myself as a person. So that I will be rejected on the basis of, that people don't actually see me or understand me, and that they like to have me around because of, that I'm fun and I can do a lot of things and I know a lot of stuff, but they don't really know me. And if they did, like, it would be like, meh, and then that would like really hurt my ego.
I personally am a very insecure guy. 2014, 2014 I got rejected, and that sent me on this consume binge, on like a desperate attempt to like fix myself, as if there's something wrong with me. Yeah, but even now that stuff happens. Oh, when someone rejects me, like, okay, there's something wrong with me. I just have to, if I only had this, oh, if I only had the wisdom of that, then it would have worked out, and that's what it feels like. But I know I'm coming from this place of, oh, I'm imperfect, and how would I be perfect? But it's like, but I still feel it. I don't know how else to put it. And my only thing is, oh, I know I'm bad at all these different things, but maybe I'm just smart enough to compensate for it. You know what I mean? Or if I have enough amazing personality that would compensate for this kind of stuff, for my insecurity. And that's my thing for like, you have to be more charming, you have to be more confident, and that's my stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for me it's kind of like it speaks to what both Emily and Prem just said, but it's kind of like, I like to think that I like to view the world and situations and places and people as I kind of like to get a complete view where I acknowledge everything has its good and its bad, right? So I think like the biggest thing for me is when other people might just look at like something bad with me, right? So like, oh, like he did this wrong, and then that's like all of a sudden I'm just wrong. Does that make sense? Instead of like looking at like all of it, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not great at this, but I'm really good at this, but you're not valuing that. Does that? It's kind of like that's kind of like where that's what I'm afraid of is kind of just being leaving an impression that's not me on people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with Emily a lot that sometimes I don't worry about it, but it makes me feel upset that like all this relationship I have with this person, it's because they want that from me, like that is skill set or that knowledge or that being fun or whatever, and or a relationship that they are with me because they expect a relationship, but I'm trying to just be friends with them. I don't want anything from them. And when I see there is a motive behind it, that just upsets me. It's not again. Um, I still love them, but it upsets me that they think that way. And another thing I wanted to say that was important, and I forgot. About insecurity. I think people become insecure when they don't self-assess their confidence or whether they're good at something or not. They're not realistic about themselves. So insecurity is like a test. You want to test other people's uh, validation or reaction towards you. But I think if you have a realistic view of yourself, you know your flaws, you know your strengths, weaknesses, and you're realistic about it, you're compassionate to yourself, and not like loving yourself. I never understood what loving yourself is, but just being realistic. Like, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, I suck at this, I'm perfect at that. Uh, when you have that, why does it matter what everyone thinks, you know? And if you don't like me, that's perfectly fine. I'm just a normal person. Some people like me, some people don't, and everyone's just like equal. I don't see an insecurity when you're realistic.
Makes sense, yeah.
Also, I just want
Sebastian,
to build on that quick point on insecurity. Also, I feel that insecurity manifests the way you define not only yourself but the people around you as well. Not understand, but define. You put meaning into the words. Oh, this guy's a good-looking person, but that also implies that there are people who are not looking. That automatically creates a spectrum, and we take so much for granted, all the definitions that we define. And every time I kind of changed my insecurity, the way I define the world changed. Some of the definitions, I literally don't use some words anymore. Yeah, that's it.
that makes sense, yeah. Depending on if we pedestal other people, we can be insecure in comparison because we're kind of comparing ourselves. Insecurity largely can come from comparison. So because you're comparing yourself to someone else or another thing or an ideal. And so it can cause insecurity. And so something Sebastian mentioned it's called the horns effect. So when someone takes one negative thing about you and then they just project it onto all of you. Yeah, and then they just horns you. I've had some FI users that I've interviewed. They'll call something a repulsion switch. So sometimes like one negative valence can totally skew their emotional opinion of something. So it's like they might be instantly repulsed by a certain thing. But just some FI, not all. I'm not characterizing all. But I see that instant horns effect, and I've seen it with some of my friends too, where they instantly like have a negative opinion of something, and that can be shell shocking. Or it's just a human experience too. This can happen to people of all types. Don't mean to pigeonhole it.
What do you mean, like immediately have a negative opinion? What does that mean?
So you know, like how FI is known as like, oh, I like this or I dislike this.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when new information comes in, FI can have a really strong conviction about it, and it can like sometimes go like, this person was the most amazing person ever, and then the next week you'll talk to them and then they'll go like, this person was the worst ever, and it's like, but you just told me last week that you like love this person and now you don't. So it's like strong shift in opinion, and it's of liking and disliking something.
Something about FI users I think is that I misunderstood before is that when they change their opinion about you or someone, they don't really change how they think about them. It's a way of protecting themselves, because FI wants to take care of their own emotional needs. So FI is like being emotionally protective of myself. I don't let anyone hurt me, and I'm going to protect myself. So if they see that someone is going to, in any ways, hurt them verbally or in any ways, they disconnect themselves from that person. And that looks like if they change their idea about that person. But I think they're just distancing themselves from that person, and sometimes they say that when they have to explain why they distance themselves from that person. But I think it's just a protection. It's a way of protecting themselves.
Yeah.
It hurts other people, but especially FE users.
Yeah,
Are all like, let's all protect each other. You take care of me, I'll take care of you. Let's just all be cool. No?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think for an ENTP, root of insecurity really is FE. When you're young, when you have your first romantic relationship, doesn't happen. The root cause of it is really you give somebody else the power to determine your value, and then you become like almost like a suck up to them, which doesn't help what you try to achieve. And I think the way out of it is really be rejected a few times, like early on. It's a good thing, because then somehow you emerge. For example, in a dancing context, I mean, just going to clubs, I would say, oh, I should have asked that person, and I'm still Mr. Robots, I'm really sucky. But I learned is, well, I give away that person, I project power onto them. They don't even know who I am, but I'm already giving them power to judge me, determine my value. Whereas what I learned the hard way is I asked them, and strangely, I still remember one of the first times when I said, this person just rejected me. But it was way, way better than the fear and projection I had of how it would be to be rejected. So I asked 2, 3, 4 more people. I'm like, I can dig this. I can survive this. And then you become almost like not obnoxious, but then you experiment, say, okay, what's different next time? Regarding, getting to know people. If I'm interested in somebody or just want to engage them, I actually I want them to either like me or dislike me. Nothing's worse than indifference. If they dislike you, you have a hook. You can play with them, and things might turn out very different without going into detail. That's another thing. I hate you. I'm like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. What are we going to do about it? So it's really learning. Do not give away. If you have like 5 balls, it's your self-esteem. Don't give all 5 to them to a stranger. Hold on to 3 of them. Let them play with 1, but do not externalize your value. And once you realize that, I think you might still feel rejection or be insecure, but we're arrogant. At some core, we know we're good at certain things, and as long as we keep that in our mind, we won't be devastated by a rejection, especially if we've had 12 and 3 times we did all right. So I don't know that.
actually had the same. Now that you mentioned the first romantic relationships when we were younger, now that I remember that I did fall into that trap. I was pursuing someone and they kept kind of playing with me, and because I was getting all of the feeling validation from them, so they could play with me, and they were kind of, that person was kind of like enjoying it and using that power. But the way I stopped it was, so for example, it ended like this. They said they knew how to manipulate me. They said that, she said at the end, I told her that I don't want to be with you anymore, and I think we're different. We don't get along very well. I just want to stop this. What she said to keep me around, she said, I don't have any respect for men who change their ideas. All right. It triggered something in me, and I wanted to say, oh, but no, I'm not like that. I'm not like trying to explain myself. I said just one thing. I said, whether you respect me or not does not determine my value. I know myself. And that shut down everything, and I could move away and move on very easily. And after that, I open up myself, and I let you judge me however you want, and I give you that. I don't give you that power. I'm the one who determines that value. You know, you can judge me however you want. If I like my interaction with you, I stay with you. If not, we have to split.
Yeah.
So I totally changed the perspective. Now I don't even care how you think about me. I care. I love you if I'm in that relationship, but I also want to take care of myself. It's like bringing a peace between your FE and FI, you know, which comes from probably from experience, from rejections that Boris was saying.
Yeah, that's really wonderfully put, Jay. And it speaks to the issue of codependency too, which is a general human theme. Like with people, sometimes people please because we want people to like us. And it's a good journey to kind of figure out your own value, to figure out your worth, which is amazing. And so I'm going to do a speed round of questions. Because we have a lot of questions, so we'll try to get through each question and try to like weave our way through as many as we can. So communication tips for those in a relationship with an ENTP. Yeah, Sebastian.
So I would say, you know, in general, kind of like give the other person, you know, allow them room to kind of explain how their thought process works. Because I feel like if sometimes, and this is something, so I recognize Chloe because she had the question about the FI and TI. So to kind of harp back on the answer for the last question, with my sister and I as an example, who's an ENFP, sort of like she's kind of adjusted and learned that, you know, usually when she's quick to have a judgment about something or a situation, and I'm not as quick to have a judgment, it's usually because there is a reason why. Because there's, I mean, like, I'm trying to think of a good example without being like too vague, but essentially there is reasonable, like, at least for myself, I don't claim to know everything, right? So I always leave room for doubt. So I would say in general, ENTPs are kind of not fast to come to a judgment or a decision or do any or take, you know, like immediate action, because there's always room for like, wait, but I could be wrong, right? I would say allow the other person space to explain why, if it's the issue is like, you know, like they're hesitant or something like that. They usually have a reason for it, which they believe is good. Now, whether it is or not objectively, that's something that can be talked out, right? But at least to them, it's a valid enough reason to create some sort of doubt, or either taking action or committing or doing something is what I would say. Just allow there to be space for the other person to express what they're thinking and what their doubts are, if any.
Can I say something about communication? We are good at telling what you want, but don't get used to it. Start ask us directly what you want. It takes a lot of energy for us to guess what you really want, and it makes it much faster and easier for us. For example, you want to have breakfast with me, just say, hey, do you want to eat breakfast together? And I'll say yes or no. Usually I say yes. But don't say, I wish
Okay.
I had breakfast right now. And I'm like, do you want to breakfast alone or now, tomorrow? When there's so many possibilities and I don't know what you mean and what you feel. And this is extremely frustrating. Just be direct with us and let us be direct. Give us the opportunity to express our true selves, because if I tell you directly that, but I'm not in the mood for breakfast, right? And if you say, okay, well, another time. But if you get sad and emotional and very dramatic about it, I'll say, okay, I'll have breakfast with you. Okay. But I get tired after a while. And when I'm tired, secretly, without even letting you know, I'll dodge you. I'll leave and I'll run away. I'll find a way. I'm just being truthful.
Need to be specific as well, not just direct, but also specific. Yeah, helps a lot.
Let us be.
Yeah. There's a fatigue to reading people's mind reading fatigue. So don't make the ENTP try to read your mind all the time and your emotions.
That's why I hate texting as well. There's just so many ways to interpret what they said.
Exactly.
It's like
emojis. Always use emojis when you text.
Yeah.
Always, 100%.
That's what I was going to say. One of the reasons why you have to be so brutally explicit and straightforward with what you want is because Ennie is seeing so many possibilities that I'm like, well, it could have been 17 things that you meant. So I appreciate it when you just tell me like straight up, this is what it is.
Yeah, because I would feel like the average person, when they say something like, I want you to guess, they're thinking, oh, they're going to guess within these 10 things. I'm like, I'm thinking out about like 100 things. Like, do you want me to actually dive into each possibility?
Yeah, especially you don't have serious conversations over text. Yeah, that's also one more thing.
There's a video that Denzel shared on Twitter. I love that video. I'll try to find it and share it with you guys. It's a lady that there's a repairman in a lady's house, and she's trying to charm that guy and indirectly asking him to like.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. I've watched that video. Yeah.
The way he responds is exactly how we prefer to communicate. Not in the beginning phase, but in the long term.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so, how do you guys deal with conflict?
By winning.
By winning. There you go.
That's
demolished. Absolute power.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think we fear it. I don't think we're as much of an argumentative buttholes as we're made out to be. Yeah. But I find conflict is actually sometimes good to get things done within reason or to make a point. But also, it's not personal, right? We don't fear it. We don't shy away from it. Sometimes we may use it to elicit a point, but we have no malice when that happens. And my thing is, bring it on if you want to start. I'm cool with that.
I don't know how I can tell you how I deal with conflict. One thing I know about myself is that your state of being really affects or colors the way you see the situation. So if you're feeling good, you automatically see the solution, what to do next, But if you're feeling bad, you feel stuck, depressed, and my state of being has like a direct effect on the conflict I'm experiencing.
I think we are not scared of conflict, but we are scared of when the other person becomes very emotional and acts as if they're hurt, and we think that we have hurt that person, like they start crying or something, we freak out and we just stop whatever we've been saying. We try to say the opposite, to just calm them down. But if they can hold a conversation, I don't care if who insults whom, and I actually like the fight. I love fight.
Yeah, like friendly arguments, or just I love debating semantics.
Catch you outside. How
Oh
about
my
that?
God.
We had this game in high school. I was really good at that game. Two students would face each other and start insulting each other really, like rapidly, really fast. And whomever stopped first, that person would lose the game. I love that game. And in real life, that doesn't happen. Someone gets hurt and they start being emotional.
It's like a 1 versus 1 roast battle.
I wonder if you get a bunch of ENTPs together, will it become a roast battle?
Probably, yeah. But it would be in good fun.
Oh yeah, I think
it'd be like
that was a good one. If
that would be a good one. I'd like to look at that roast. Yeah, I'd watch it.
In school, was it easy to come up with interesting, unique ideas for projects?
Depends on how you define unique. I would say interesting ideas I had were usually something I would see in a class and then be like, oh, you know what? I can probably apply this other thing from this other class on there. And then that would be an interesting idea. But as far as like unique that I thought of, I don't know. I feel like this is going like into more general about like what originality is, but I think there's nothing that's original, right? I think everything's a remix. Like every song is like the same chords. Well, I mean, not every song, but you know, there are the same, it's sort of the same. So like with uniqueness of ideas, I'm not really sure, but interesting for sure, because it's so easy to just make a connection for me from like this thing to this thing. And I'm like, oh my God, I could totally make that. Right. So I would say relatively easy.
I would say in a school, I was not creative with the projects that were assigned to me. I was very creative in dodging and not doing those projects. And later on at work, and when I work in industry or right now, when I don't have an assignment, I'm very creative. For example, I worked in a software company for a while, and I gave this example earlier. That it wasn't even my job, but we had to ask a programmer to do something for us, and he wasn't nice. So I wrote a code that would write the code that we wanted him to write for us. So I was creative in that sense. There was no assignment. It wasn't expected from me. But if you expect it from me, my creativity kind of shuts down, actually, which is why in school I wasn't performing well. But in graduate school, where they didn't expect us to come up with ideas, because ideas were, not everyone could come up with ideas, and then I was really good. And for every class, I could come up with a good project idea, and
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like when you take something you like doing, but you make it a necessary, it turns it into a chore. So now it's a chore, totally. And so how many browser tabs do you guys have open on average? This is a really serious question.
10.
2 to 3. I used to have a lot open, but this is a new habit. I focus only on one thing.
Yeah, because you have this new rule, like 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So you have to stick to that.
Thanks for remembering that. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I have 17 open right now. So
13?
17, but that's from work and other research earlier.
Yeah. But I like to focus, like when I'm doing this interview, there's just one tab open, just this one, you know. But when I'm researching about stuff, the tabs just kind of populate.
Yeah.
I would say, like right now I have my email open in this, so 2 tabs.
I have 32 on my phone right now.
And I thought I would win.
Oh, on my phone I have 100 plus all the time. Yeah. It just gives me a smiley face. Yeah.
Yeah. On the computer, just very few. Like the 2 pages that I always need to go to, and that's it.
Yeah, but when I was younger, I had this habit of going to a website and find out a lot of useful links, and then just press Control and click on all of them, open them in like hundreds of new tabs, and later on I'll save them or look at them or read them or whatever. And I would never do that. So after a while, I just learned to focus on maybe one thing at a time.
My ENFP best friend had like 40 tabs open at all times, and one of the things I used to do was I would like put the mouse on the close button, and she'd be like, "No, don't do it." And it was kind of like I was killing someone. No, don't press the exit. I haven't read that. What if I want to read it? I want to keep my options open.
Yeah, there's an option in Chrome, Control-Shift-T. So let's say you accidentally close something, you can just revive it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Control-Shift-T. Yeah.
I accidentally close windows all the time. Usually for work, because for work, usually I have to have more tabs open. So at work, if I close my browser, I'm like, God, I can't do that.
Well, I organize them in groups, though, right? And sometimes I split them out, and I have 3 Firefox windows with different subgroupings. So, but then I like to keep them open. Sometimes saying, "Oh, that was 3 days ago. I didn't finish that last article. I got distracted."
That's funny. Yeah. So, how do you guys deal with FOMO and information hoarder syndrome?
I would like more information on information hoarder syndrome.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know what that is.
I used to have a lot of FOMO about. I had the really FOMO issue, and so I learned that there are not for everything there is usually 1 or 2 good resources, and you just, instead of having all the resources and paying attention to all of them, spend some more time finding that 1 or 2 good resource and read that. For example, in the Enneagram, you're interested in Enneagram. You Google Enneagram, there are hundreds of pages. You open them, you want to read everything that's about the Enneagram, and it's all so confusing, right? And but spend some time knowing who are the main authors and teachers of the Enneagram, and read some about each and see which style do you prefer, which style of writer do you prefer, and then get that book and then read that. Just that. That's enough. They usually have everything, and get used to finishing one thing before moving to the next. Yeah, I think FOMO is an illusion.
Anyone else?
Yeah, for
What is
me,
information hoarder thingy?
Emily.
Yeah, go
for me with FOMO, like most often happens when my friends are doing something without me. So how I deal with it is I just go yell at them for not inviting me, and then I get invited the next time, and then that solves it. For information hoarding, like I just do it. Like, why do you have to deal with it? You just keep hoarding information, and then like, what's the problem, huh?
I agree. And then you abstract it and you forget the details, and
then you can come back around and reconsume it later.
So I information hoard, but then I see the any of all the information, and then you have like a pattern that is more accurate, or you could use or whatever. So, but FOMO, I just don't deal with it. It's very hard. I have no coping mechanisms for it yet.
Yeah, it relates back to keeping the options open and having a hard time closing the options prematurely. Totally. And so, okay, this is a good question. Follow up on the memory part. Can you guys be more specific in terms of how well your episodic versus semantic memory is?
Definitions first,
Yep.
please, for everybody.
Yep.
Joyce, you would know about the distinction. I have an idea, but you're probably way more read on episodic versus
Intensely Googling, like, what does this mean?
I'm like, oh no.
I'm quizzing you right now, you realize.
Just skip this question, we'll get back to it later.
I'm going to get a D on this like you did in geography. All right. So since we do not know, we will skip this question.
Oh, that's a cop-out.
Who is that?
Oh, that's Boris. Or
Please don't judge me for asking, but do you guys think C.S. Joseph is an ENTP?
In
No.
OPS, he is not. Yeah, it's very clear. In his system, he is. But see, okay. I'm gonna get a little bit of tea here. But he did type his baby, and he even gave like 7-day-old, he probably saying gaga gugu or whatever, and it's like yeah, INTJ, I see it a mile away, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, yeah, dude.
At least he
You
didn't
know.
assign an ops type. That would have been even worse, right? Like after.
All I'm saying is not just, it's not a very smart thing to do. I don't know how you can conclude it, but he did make a 40-minute video on it. But no matter what he says, I can't see any justification that, I don't know, man. But in his system, he says an ENTP, but he created the system. So
I think I have a few arguments on why he's not, but he could be. But these are the things that make me doubt him as an ENTP. One is we're really never sure to like about something like MBTI to start like teaching it and like having a business around it. Not saying that ENTPs don't do that, but
yeah,
the more we learn about something, the more we know we don't know, and we feel uncomfortable like teaching it or making a business, making money out of it. I'm not saying if he's not doing the right thing. I'm sure he has his own clients and everything, and also he's very systematic and like holds a whiteboard and I don't think we can do that consistently for like so many episodes, like having a whiteboard and having that structure. I do that for one session and then I
It's just a dirty board. It's not a whiteboard. It's a dirty board.
let me to like compare and contrast. So if you ask about how we came up with his system, yeah, versus you ask Jay about how did he come up with the Enneagram stuff, yeah. So if you ask Jay about the Enneagram stuff, he's probably going to explain the logic. This means this means this, and this led to this, that led to that, and you get the logical framework, right? That's Jay's response, typical response. With C.S. Joseph, if you ask him, how did you get the system? Yeah, you get this Pundit's query. How did he get it? He's like, yeah, so I read it in this book. But how do you know is this book is right or not? Oh, because my mentor told me. That's how I know. I'm like,
I remember something. I don't know him much, but once I got curious about him, and
I'm like, dude.
just a video popped up while I was on YouTube. Him and someone else were typing someone. They were typing someone. So they had a list of like functions, and they would score that person against some definition of some functions. Like this was a very TE thing to do, to like have a metric for something and only look at that and score someone based on that until you see that okay, you scored more than this. It's like a test. Tests are TE, and we're not like that. We keep getting information until we form like a coherent, logical system in our mind, and then you can tell if someone matches a definition.
That's such a good distinction. Yeah, he's using a system that he read in a book, and he's comparing everyone using the system. Yeah, but how?
Like in my major, the way we like evaluate industries is very TE based. But in the classes that I teach, I'm like, forget about all these metrics that tell you about how efficient an organization is. Instead, go look at this and that, and go look deeper. Like, see if they're profitable and lots of other things that connect to each other. It's not just like looking at one metric,
Also, yeah, if you ask him, okay, how did this come? Like, so you have a system. So, okay, explain me, like, why did you conclude to this? Yeah, you don't have like a clear explanation as to.
And we don't even trust any of this. At least I don't trust any of these models. These are just models, right?
It's like an amalgamation of popular models.
We always talk about this, but deep down, I doubt all of these. Like, how do you know if this model is correct? Why not, for example, why don't we use 3 functions? So for who says that? Why don't we have a different model for 8 functions that arranges them differently? And unless you really scientifically test these and test some hypotheses, you can't really tell if these models are correct.
Yeah, and sometimes he just makes up explanations. I'm going after him, man. You know
You're
what?
at his
Go
throat.
get him, Tiger.
I'm going.
Okay.
Yes.
One time he said something about like a sperm being like having an ego in the center or whatever. The tail is something whatever, and he just makes up explanation. I'm like, dude, this is like trigger. It's like disgrace for all ENTPs. Yeah, but he has more subscribers, so popularity wise he wins.
But again, continuing what we were saying, if I don't trust the system enough, I cannot say if he's an ENTP or not.
Interesting.
In his system, he is. That's what even he said. So.
Okay. Fascinating. So why are
ENTP, like you guys?
Yeah, Jay, let's go after him, Jay. Yeah. Call the dogs. Have to go.
So why are ENTPs often viewed as immoral and devilish?
This is why, because you go after people like this.
I would say
Okay.
it's because we touched on this earlier when we were talking about that sort of NE plus TI forces us to go to a lot of really dark places because we have to understand everything. So I think if you're having to look at that stuff all the time, one, you're at least more aware of it than other people, and then two, NE can justify a lot of things that it wants to justify. There's a way to explain things that I decide that I want to do, even if they're immorally or morally questionable and / devilish. That's what I would say.
I would say part of it is also I feel like, at least for me, it's easy for me to kind of question human subjectivity. So when we're talking about like immoral, like what is moral? What is who told you what morals are, right? So I feel like that is sort of like because I feel ENTPs are more easily we're more easy to question, like these things that human subjectivity, like these, I mean, and a lot of them have good reason. Like there's a totally good reason why killing people is wrong and why we shouldn't do it, right? But there in other things, but it's easy to easier for people like me to question the basis of everything, which to some people that might be like, oh my god, are you considering like killing people? It's like, no, I'm just it's abstract. I'm questioning, why is it wrong? Like why did we decide that's wrong? There's a good reason why, right? But not everything is as night and day as murder, right?
Also, I feel, just building up on Sebastian's point, I feel because ENTPs, as discussed before, have that very low sense of emotional awareness, they can often come off as cold, which gives off that devilish vibe. Oh wait, so you're just so cold and you're so analytical, you're so cold, and it gives like immoral,
You're willing to question and doubt the premises and beliefs that people hold very dear to their heart.
And it doesn't emotionally move us much,
It's all intellectual. It's all intellectual. We want to go to extremes of possibilities. We want to, in our mind and in our explanation and intellectual discovery, we want to go explore everything. And while we're doing that, we may say things. Or we want to entertain ideas of different things. What if you do this? What if this person didn't mean this? Like we're just looking at this cube from all the different angles until we understand it. That's very different from how I feel about it. That's very different about how I like. Let me give you an example. We were in this party and then we started having a conversation. Someone brought up the issue of a child being molested by a shopkeeper somewhere. They have that experience, and they were telling she was asking a friend. She was asking us if we would go shopping in that store after we know about this. And I started saying, "Oh, why did he do that? Maybe he had a bad upbringing. What is the right way to correct this?" Like I went to tangents about all different things, and she started accusing me that you don't care about that child or what impacts going shopping has in the society. You're not punishing that person and all of other things. I said these are just ideas. I'm trying to see the big picture, see how everything connects, and then give a solution for that not to happen again. Because I'm already upset of that experience the child has gone through. So I'm trying to reach some wisdom about it and then give a solution about it. If you ask me how I feel about it, if I actually know that this guy in this store last week molested a child, I don't feel like walking into that store. If you're asking about my emotion, I'll probably don't walk in, or I may not like that guy, but I may walk into the store, even have a conversation with him to understand him better. You know, this detective mind doesn't mean that like detectives talk to criminals, it doesn't mean that they're criminals.
Yeah. How about you, Boris?
Oh, okay. I'm half joking about it, but what you described kind of relates to, can be described by an absence of FI, which is we don't have a strong made set of values that's good and that's bad. And as Jay said, we like to experiment, explore, and understand something from a sort of detached, observant point of view, which especially to an FI Dom or Ox, which is half the people out there, will say, don't you have any morals, right? Because, I mean, Feynman, I think he was also, he did things that might have been questionable. He was in his 50s. He would pick up young ladies at his university, but he told them, say, look, this is just an experience for me. It was okay. He was involved in the atomic bomb, which some people have issues with, but he just partly did it because it was interesting, and also he thought it helps the cause. We really don't have this rule book of moral values, right? We live in the moment, we're observers, and then we synthesize an opinion based on what's available with not even a specific goal. But our goal is not to come to we don't care about judgments. I think we're very non-judgmental. We don't want to say this is good or bad. We want to explore something interesting and then have an insight. And to an FI user or somebody that was affected, I mean, personally, molestation is a horrible thing. There are things that have really affected me because I know somebody at work. I got somebody fired, and I orchestrated it so they didn't even know why they got fired. But that was very personal to me. If I don't know the person, as in this scenario, I just become an observer of something and play with something and offend somebody that has strong FI.
Yes, let me add something else too. It doesn't mean that it has nothing to do with having emotions. We detach, like Boris said, we detach from our emotions and then start analyzing. That helps us analyze it better in a more objective manner. One of my solutions for that example,
Jay, if I can touch on something you just said there about you said detaching. So it's I think you hit the nail on the head. So it's about detaching our emotions from it. So what we show to it's because we have emotions. I have emotions. I have feelings.
Yeah, but we detach
right?
so that we can analyze. It doesn't
exactly right.
Back to it, it's there. Actually, in that example that I gave earlier, I was saying that the reason that guy molested that child was because he wasn't feeling how that child is feeling, and he wasn't sensing the innocence of that child. That's the problem. Let's see why that happens, and let's find a solution for that. So it doesn't mean that I like what he did. I'm just saying, let's see why it happened. I'm not the guy who just talks about how that kid felt for 1 hour. Someone else does that. I do something else. I try to look at the big picture and reach a wisdom about that subject. Sorry, Sebastian, I didn't let you continue.
Sebastian? You're muted.
Oh, what was that?
Oh, nothing. I just thought you wanted to say something.
Oh, was that about?
Detaching, yeah. I thought I did.
Detached observer. I think detached observer is a good descriptor for me, at least. My preferred position is a detached observer of something that has an experience but is detached of judgments and strong emotions.
Yeah.
Fascinating. And so does TI value something? I mean, in theory, it is a judging function.
Fairness.
This is the last question of today.
Universal fairness. Something that's fair to everyone.
Yeah, I would say objectivity, consistency for sure. One of the things that we don't like is contradictions. So, and here, so when an FI user when an FI user is inconsistent by like the beliefs and then their actions, if there's like a disconnect there, oh my god. So that's actually, if I can go back to Chloe, that's one of the things that the ENTP should actually work at, like not being too rash when we notice inconsistencies. But yeah, I would say TI values consistency. It values objectivity. At least I try to be as objective as I can. I know I'm not perfectly, capable of achieving perfect objectivity. That's not a thing. But we try to be fair and consistent.
Also, TI values the logical process rather than just the conclusion. Even the conclusion is a bit wonky, but the logical process is nice. I really value that, not the conclusion. So if you have a good conclusion but a very flawed logical process as to how you got to the conclusion, I wouldn't respect the conclusion. So
I think we also love mechanisms. If you show us something that works really good, everything's very well connected, you push a button here, for example, you pay something here, it's calculated everywhere, you don't need to repeat it. It's like a good architecture, good system. We really value that and get energized by seeing how everything connects logically.
Yeah, seeing why it works. Yeah. So TI is very process oriented. Yeah. And so it's trying to figure out the process. Whereas, so FI and TI, they tend to be connotated with process. So TI likes to figure out the logical process of things, and FI likes to figure out like their own emotional process to things. Whereas for FE and TE, they're associated with end goals or like having an end result that they're kind of looking for. So with TE, it's more noticeable with end goals. So it's going to have like a logical end goal that it wants everything to work for others, or like an end goal for the group, logically for TE. Whereas FE, it kind of wants the end goal of the group feeling happy or feeling like that mood is good. So that's just an interesting distinction that I wanted to mention with everyone. And any last comments on the TI valuing something? Awesome. You can go.
No, I feel like there are certain like theories I get attached to. Like there is this one theorem in math called Gödel's incompleteness theorem. It's a you know that Boris?
Yeah, and Jay probably does too. So.
Oh yeah, yo, that's a beautiful proof. I kind of value that kind of stuff too. Yeah.
Actually, have you looked at I haven't seen the proof. That's one of the things that I want to. I kind of understand the essence of it, but I haven't walked through the proof. Have you walked through?
I haven't walked. But the conclusion is just beautiful.
Yeah.
The fact that the guy could prove
Wait
it.
a minute, Prem. You just said you don't respect the conclusion if you didn't check the logic stack. So what's the big idea?
Inconsistencies there.
Yeah, no, I did go to the logic, but it's too complicated. But I kind of saw that it was proven. So I'm like, you know what? I respect this proof. The message behind the proof is very philosophically nice.
You're such a devil's advocate. I love it.
But I haven't gone through the proof. You should also not go through complex mathematical proofs unless you like it.
That is funny. That is great. That is amazing. Jay.
I think it's funny. The most devil advocate thing I've ever done was when I was little, when I was a kid. I told my mom, why do people hate Hitler? Why do you always pray for good people? Why don't you pray for Hitler? Because he needs the prayer more than everyone else.
Yeah,
He's in trouble. You need to pray for him.
yeah.
So that was my first.
What's
Makes
your mom's
sense.
side? How did she take it? Was she eyes of shame? Was like,
I think she had a good response. She said, I admire my mom very much. She said, we don't hate him, we hate what he did. And
that's a good answer.
Wow, that's
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of hate the sin, love the sinner, or something like that.
Oh, that's a good line. I like that one.
Yeah, so thank you, ENTPs, for coming out and talking about how your TI loves logical consistency and that all of that amazing TI shebang there. Thank you for telling us about all the offensive thoughts you have in your head.
Wait, I just have to say something really important. Yeah, I just have to say something really important before you guys end this. Subscribe to Joyce's channel, yeah.
Oh, thank
Down
you.
below, and the bell
I
icon.
heard she'll have a new test. I haven't test driven it. I'm waiting for it, but you might look at MBTI. Yeah, when do I get my test invite?
Yeah.
I will send you that test.
Send it to all of us. There might be
All
some.
of us.
what test?
Well, it's so I'm creating my own test.
Oh, really?
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in its beta phase. It's going to be a little different than the tests you find online. Yeah, so thank you, Ian.
That's right.
Your FE
Yeah.
encouragement. Wow, you make me feel so confident and so at ease. Yeah. There's like an incredible charm that you all have in the way that you guys carry yourselves, and the ways that like the witty the comments that you have to each other's comments. Like Emily was just like, "Hey, Prem, did you?" So I love the wittiness interjected throughout this.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
The next one will be a roast. We'll just all roast.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Oh,
Please,
I'm all for it.
do that.
Yeah, let's have an ENTP roast video where you guys just insult
God.
or try to one up each other.
No, we'll just end up flirting with each other. That's it.
Well, honestly, everyone.
But we do have a salsa date, Prem, right?
Yeah, 100% Boris. We'll talk over this PMs. Yeah.
Ooh la la, I'm excited for that. And yeah, so thank you, Emily, for coming on such short notice. We just invited you from the live chat and you hopped on.
Thanks for having me.
I don't know why you're associated with egg rolls, but I'm totally for it.
That's an FI.
Yeah. And Prem has an amazing YouTube channel. It's called ENTP Nurture. If you want spiritual enlightenment plus objective personality, he's your guy for it. So go check him out. Yeah, and Jay has a really popular Twitter account called CogFun, where he spreads what he calls misinformation.
My YouTube channel. It's all.
Wait, you have a YouTube channel, Chief?
No, it's for like a student. It's
Yeah, if you want to check out his double life as a professor, you can go check out that YouTube
His
channel.
secret life as a professor, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Boris, thanks for hosting the intuitive meetups or the MBTI meetups in our location. Yeah.
You're attending occasionally.
Yeah. I'll attend more.
You guys up there.
Yeah.
What did you say, Jay?
What did you say? What did you say?
You cut out, Jay. What did you say?
I still like to come visit you guys in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
You
just
are,
come on.
you are all welcome to come here to LA.
That makes 3 of us doing salsa, yeah.
Yeah, we're all gonna just do salsa together.
West Coast swing, that's a really great dance, but not many do it. It's so hard to learn.
There's some great salsa clubs in LA, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about
channel changing or any channel changing.
Yeah, we're supposed to end this, right? Yeah, Joyce, just end it. Yeah, just don't care about the people. Yeah, don't even tell them thanks. Just end it.
Joyce,
Just
can
fun
you
it.
leave
Yeah.
us? Can we just continue our conversation?
It's gonna continue on. We're gonna have the Guinness World Record of the longest MBTI conversation online. We should do that one day, like the longest YouTube video on MBTI together, and just break a Guinness World
It
Record.
might have to be a week though, huh?
Yeah, that might have to be a weekend. Yeah.
We can do like
Yeah.
24 hours.
the longest. It's been like 3 hours and 20 minutes.
I can
It's
come in
eight,
for
8
24
hours
hours.
would be the
MBTI?
longest one.
Oh, 8 hours?
8 hours is nothing. Is that all we need to beat? I thought that.
That's all we need to be.
I can do 16. I can do 16. I've done 16 before.
I think YouTube only allows 8 at max. That's why.
Oh.
You can live stream how much ever, but at a time you can only upload up to 12 hours.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
Okay, we'll do a 12-hour video for whoever is interested in joining. Okay, wait. So Sebastian, thanks for joining and sharing y'all's nuggets on your TI framework and how you like to really doubt very deeply. Like TI, it goes through layers of doubt, like layers of logical doubt of things, and you really exemplified that excellently. Yeah.
Accidentally? What are you saying?
My pronunciation doesn't convey my warmth.
You're not going to last 12 hours. We need a different host. Prem.
Yeah. No, my charm wears off after 5 hours and 20 minutes. Yeah, after that you have to take over, Boris.
Yeah, we'll figure out who's hosting that longest MBTI video ever. But yeah, thank you, ENTPs, for NEing it out and taking me on tangent land. And yeah.
You'll have to edit all this down to an hour.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Oh my god. Wait, are you going to edit this all out?
No, this is going to stay. This is all live. Unless you want me to edit something specifically out. Thank you, audience members, for asking such amazing questions. For asking ENTPs about their relationships, and getting to their FI that's not existing. Like, that was good. And I'll see everyone around.
It exists. It's here.
Bye.